Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Growth and Sustainability meeting for tonight. And regrettably, the mayor has sent her regrets for tonight's meeting, but you still have the rest of us here, so we'll proceed with the meeting. Before we get started with the meeting agenda, I will provide the following announcements. Comments can be made from the public, from members of the public, for a matter that is on the agenda by advising the chair during the request to address items on the agenda section. The public may submit written comments for matters that are on the agenda to jpaylove@westlincoln.ca before 4:30 on the day of the meeting for consideration by the committee. Comments received after 4:30 on the day of the committee meeting will be considered at the following council meeting. Comments submitted are included in the record. This meeting will be live streamed and as well as recorded and available on the Township's website. Thank you. And before we move on, item number 2 is the land acknowledgement. The Township of West Lincoln, being part of Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nation Métis and Inuit from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Township of West Lincoln, as part of the regional municipality of Niagara, stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Now I'll turn to my colleagues and ask for any pecuniary interests. Seeing none, I'll move on. We are moving into the public meetings portion of the meeting, and we have 2 public meetings. I will start with an application for zoning bylaw amendment for the purpose to facilitate an expansion of 492 square meters to the existing truck and vehicle repair and service shop and outdoor storage in the front yard by 1806018 Ontario Inc., Lindy Truck and Trailer. That's on It's on 4426 Regional Road 20, and it is file 1601-014-24. First of all, who's got this one? Okay, this is a public meeting to consider an application for a zoning bylaw amendment submitted by 4426 Regional Road 20, Lofcor Limited being the consulting agent, and 1806018 Ontario, Lindy Truck and Trailer, as the owner for file 1601-014-24. The Planning Act requires in Section 34, Sub 12, and Section 39 that before passing a zoning bylaw amendment, Council must hold at least one public meeting for the purpose of informing the public in respect of the application. The purpose of this public meeting is to receive comments and answer questions from the public regarding the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. We stress that at this point, no decision has been made on the proposed amendment, and any comments received will be taken into account by Council in their consideration. Pardon me. In accordance with the Planning Act and the Minister, the applicant or specified person, public body, or registered land owner of any land to which the bylaw amendment will apply who made oral submissions at a public meeting or written submissions to Council prior to the adoption and or passage of the bylaw may appeal the bylaw amendment to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Would the clerk please advise of the method and dates by which notice of the public meeting was given?
Proper notice was given by way of email circulation to agencies and mail circulation to all residents within 120 meters of the subject property on April 11th, 2025. Public notice was also posted to the subject property, the Township website, and the Township Administration Building on April 11th, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I see that it is Mr. Bourma who will be carrying this file, and he's the only person on that side of the table, so I guess you have them all tonight, Mr. Bourma.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair to members of the public and committee. This is a zoning bylaw amendment application submitted by Lofcor on behalf of the numbered company that you had mentioned, also known as Lindy Truck and Trailer, located on Regional Road 20, east of Smithville. And the proposal before the committee is to add 492 square meters to the existing truck and repair service establishment that's located on the property. There are a number of zoning amendments that they need to facilitate this development, including a reduction to a rear yard setback to allow for this building, as well as removal of a provision that was put in the original zoning bylaw, AR 31, Ag-related 31, to limit the maximum number of vehicles that would be permitted for sale to 6 vehicles. They don't sell vehicles on the property. They are also requesting an increase to the permitted outdoor storage area. The property is approximately or just over 5 acres in size and is designated as good general agricultural land in the prime agricultural area. And as I mentioned, is zoned agricultural related 31, which provides a number of site-specific regulations. Staff have circulated this application, as the clerk had mentioned, and have received no public comments to date. Staff will present a recommendation report following any comments that are received this evening from committee and the public. And the applicant's agent is here this evening. He does not have a presentation, but he's able to answer any additional questions that committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bourma. Is the applicant or their agent wanting to speak to committee tonight? Because this is the time where you should come forward. Seeing no one coming forward, are there any oral or written submissions from anyone present in the meeting, either in person or on Zoom, regarding the proposed zoning bylaw amendment? Kevin, is there anyone out there at all?
Not seeing you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to stress that this may be the only public meeting held with respect to this application. Therefore, if any members of the public that are in attendance at this public meeting would like to make comments and/or provide written comments, they should do so now. If you are attending virtually and would like to provide comments, you can do so by using one of the two options: a computer or smartphone and select raise your hand, or using a landline or telephone dialing *9. That will notify staff that you have raised your hand. Once you've acknowledged once you've been acknowledged to speak, please unmute your microphone. Prior to speaking, please provide your name and address for the record. And after all that, I don't see anyone with their hand up wishing to speak. Oh, Regional Councillor Albert.
Well, we'll just go with resident Albert Whittiving on 2853 South Grimsby Road 7. I just want to make a comment that I support this. I know the Lindy Truck and Trailer supports lots of businesses in the agriculture community, and as that industry grows, this is probably the reason why their business is growing. So I just wanted to put on the record that we support this from an agriculture perspective, and it's supporting our local businesses, and when they grow, they have a larger fleet, and Lindy has been a strong, has been there for our industry there. I believe they do operate 724, which is an asset when you're delivering flowers last week and you need a truck on the road. It's very important to have that service in our community. So I just wanted to make those comments, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Whitterveen. To members of committee, do any of the committee have any oral or written submissions that they would wish to put forward at this time? Councillor Rayner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through to the Director. Do you have any concerns on this application yourself with regards to anything on there that may be of concern to the township, or what you feel may be a reflection of concerns from the neighborhood, even though nobody objected?
Through the chair to Councillor Rayner, at this time, we don't have any concerns with the application, but we have to, once we complete our review, the last component of our review is to listen to any public comments and committee comments received here this evening, but at this time, we don't have any red flags on this application.
Good, that's what I need to hear. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any others? Seeing none, please note that members of committee must make their comments now, as the OLT may not consider comments made by other council or committee meetings. Okay, so seeing no other comments and no one with raised hands, please be advised that the information report is being considered by committee this evening. Please be advised that once committee or council has made a decision with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment, and if approved by council, a notice of its passing will be circulated with an appeal period. If you wish to be notified of council's decision, please ensure that you email the township clerk, Justin Paylove, at jpaylove@westlincoln.ca. Anyone who is interested in observing council and/or committee discussions about this particular bylaw should not solely rely on mailed notices and thus potentially miss the opportunity to attend a public applicable meeting. It is suggested that you watch the township's website for the posting of agendas to review items that will be discussed at council and/or committee meetings. The agendas for meetings are posted on the township's website after 4 on Friday prior to the meeting. Additionally, meeting schedules are also posted on the township's website for the public to view. If you wish to receive notices by email, it is suggested that you contact the township clerk to advise of your request and include your email address along with your mailing address and your phone number. This public meeting with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is concluded at the hour of 6:44. Our second public meeting this evening is with regard to land at 171 Mill Street. This is a public meeting to consider an application for a zoning bylaw amendment submitted by Legion Villa. Quartet Group, Inc. are their consultants and agents on behalf of Branch 393 Royal Canadian Legion Senior Citizens Complex. Legion Villa are the owner applicant. File number 1601-00325. The Planning Act requires in Section 34 Sub 12 and Section 39 that before passing a zoning bylaw amendment, council must hold at least one public meeting for the purpose of informing the public in respect of an application. The purpose of this public meeting is to receive comments and answer questions from the public regarding the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. We stress that at this point no decision has been made on the proposed amendment, and any comments received will be taken into account by council in their consideration. In accordance with the Planning Act and the minister, the applicant or specified person, public body, or registered landowner of any land to which a bylaw amendment will apply, who made oral submissions at a public meeting or written submissions to council prior to the adoption and/or passing of a bylaw, may appeal the bylaw amendment to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Mr. Clerk, would you please advise of the method and dates by which notice of to the public was given?
Proper notice was given by way of email circulation to agencies and mail circulation to all residents within 120 meters of the subject property on April 11th, 2025. Public notice was also posted to the subject property, the township website, and the township administration building on April 11th, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Borma, I guess you're handling this file as well?
Every file this evening. Thank you, Madam Chair. An application for zoning bylaw amendment has been submitted by Quartet Group on behalf of the Legion for the property located at 167-171 Mill Street. This property is located at the east end of Mill Street and is just north of the 20 Mile Creek and south of Regional Road 20. The property currently has 2 senior living apartments and is zoned institutional. Over 167 Mill Street and over 171 Mill Street is zoned institutional with a site-specific exception restricting the number of units to 32. This zoning amendment is seeking to permit an additional 52 residential units in a 6-story senior living apartment building. This 6 stories is approximately 18.9 meters, where the township zoning bylaw for the institutional zone permits a maximum height of 15 meters. The Legion has also been going through a consent application to do a boundary adjustment. The properties 161 and 171 Mill Street were two separate properties, and they were undergoing a consent to adjust the boundary to make enough space on 171 Mill Street to accommodate this building. Ultimately, they end up merging the two together to recreate a larger property for 171 Mill Street. That process is nearly completed. In addition to that, the Legion would also be required to submit and obtain approval of a site plan application to facilitate the development. Once the committee, all committee, agency, and public comments have been received, staff would bring forward a recommendation report on this application. As of today's date, administration has received 2 written public comments from nearby residents in opposition to the increase in height to the building. Staff from Cortec Group are here this evening and also have a brief presentation to provide committee and the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bourma. Is the applicant or their agent, you did say they were here, so if they'd like to come forward, this would be the time to do their presentation. If you would state your name and the company you represent, as well as the company that you work for. Sorry for all of this, but we are recording this, and the people out there will only hear what's in the microphone, and the clerk uses this tape for doing the minutes.
So my name is Nick Yamich. I'm an architect from Cortec Group representing Legion Villa tonight.
And I'm Zamima Khan, intern urban planner from Cortec Group, representing Legion Villa tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you're queued up, ready to go.
So good evening, councillor, staff, and members of the committee and the public. I'm Zamima Khan, intern urban planner from Cortec Group, and today we have our architect Nick Yamich from Cortec Group and Gord Sazi, project manager, housing services from Niagara region, and Nancy Peggy and Roger from Legion Villa today. And thank you for the opportunity to share information about the proposed development. So the proposed development is located in 171 Mill Street, including 2 existing senior citizens complex. The official plan designation is institutional, and the zoning designation is also institutional, with site-specific institutional zoning for 171 Mill Street. The proposed development is a 6-story apartment dwelling for the seniors. It's a joint seniors affordable housing unit, housing project between Royal Canadian Legion and the Niagara Regional Housing. The development consists of 52 dwelling units, and sufficient parking spaces have been provided on site for all 3 buildings that's there on the site. In terms of adjacent uses, one, we have the secondary access just for the emergency purposes from the St. Catherine Street, and then 20 Mile Creek across the south, the municipal park towards the west, the rail lands to the east, and the private residences and Royal Canadian Legion to the north. So in terms of zoning bylaw amendment, we are requesting for maximum height. Given the current height of the building is 18.9, we are requesting a height increase for 24 meters. And in terms of the maximum number of units, we are requesting for an increase from 32 to 84 units, given that the proposed development is within 171 Mill Street. And then the minimum lot frontage to be reduced from 30 meters to 0 meters. We have addressed this in terms of by providing an easement from 161 Mill Street that gives access to the site. And we have worked both with the township. So this is the proposed development showing the proposed building on site along 171 Mill Street and the 2 existing buildings, 161 Mill Street and 171 Mill Street, the 2 senior citizen complex. And we have worked with both Township and the Niagara region to propose a harmonious design, which is compatible with the existing uses that's there on the site. And sufficient parking spaces have been proposed on the site to serve all 3 buildings on the site. And we also provide a community benefit in form of low-income housing in exchange for greater density and height. And is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think that covers it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. And we're happy to gather your feedback today.
Thank you. And don't go far, because the next is the public that will come forward if they wish to speak, and there may be questions or concerns that you are probably best equipped to answer. Are there any oral or written submissions from anyone present in the meeting, either in person or on Zoom, regarding the proposed zoning bylaw amendment? I would like to stress again that this may be the only public meeting held with respect to this application. Therefore, if any members of the public that are in attendance at this public meeting would like to make comments and/or provide written comments, they should do so now. If you're attending virtually, you can do it in one of two ways: using a computer or smartphone, select and raise your hand. That can be found in the Zoom options displayed, or using a landline or telephone, dial *9. That will notify staff that you have raised your hand. Once you have been acknowledged to speak, please unmute your microphone. Prior to speaking, please provide your name and address for the record. Kevin, have we got anybody out looking to come and speak?
Not seeing any, Madam Chair.
I see that, so we'll leave it to within the committee room. Is there anyone here wishing to speak to this item? Please come forward. Now, you're not a novice, I remember you.
I know. So it's Catherine Wyvern, and I live at 2455 Shuri Road. And this is more a question. I just want to know what the definition of sufficient parking is. And if they could answer that, that would be great.
I think I'll go to Mr. Borma first, as we do the bylaws for sufficient parking, and then we can, if need be, talk to the agents to see what they're providing.
Through the chair, I just need to pull that up in the zoning bylaw. So if you give me 30 seconds.
We'll hold our breath.
So the required parking spaces, as indicated in our zoning bylaws, 1 space per 2 units.
1 space for 2 units, so 0.5 per unit, something like that.
Okay, and this is geared to income then? They're actual apartments and not condos?
Through the chair, I do not believe they are condos, they are rental units, but I'll let maybe Gord can confirm that.
You'd have to come to the microphone so that we can have you. It's
Through you,
working.
Chair. Yeah, to answer your question, so these are, social housing, low-income rental units solely, all 3 buildings.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Anyone else wishing to speak? Please come forward. Hi, I believe that one is on, so.
Yeah, yep. My name is Alan Packham. Excuse me. Born and raised here in Smithville, West Lincoln. Currently live in Hamilton, 37 Caroline Street North. Hoping to move back to Smithville one day, probably into the Legion Villa. This is more of a statement than a question. The aesthetics of the Legion Villa, the current aesthetics, are beautiful. And it's what I think our seniors in this community, the people who built this community, deserve. This proposal that was up on that screen, it's nothing short of ridiculous in my opinion. It will destroy the aesthetics. You're sardining everybody There's a floodplain through there. The 6-story factor is what you're going to subject the current residents to. Where I live in Hamilton, right beside my house, a 6-story condo went up. You can tap on the railing from my porch. For 2 years, it was a nightmare while that building went up. And the fact that I have loved ones currently at the villa, friends at the villa, are going to be subjected to what I went through for 2 years, it's unacceptable. Unless you've lived beside it, you don't know. What you're proposing, you're not living there. There are residents that are living there, and they will be subjected to this. How long do you think this will take to build? 2 years?
You'll have to direct your questions through me, I'm sorry, at this point in time, and we'll get
Okay.
them to answer them at the appropriate time.
That's pretty much all I wanted to say. I just wanted to hammer that point home, that unless you've lived beside it, you don't know what you're in for. This is a mistake, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Packham.
Accept this offer.
No. Thank you. I believe we have a question about the duration, the possible duration of this construction period. Has anyone got an answer to that right now? Once construction starts?
So Nick Amish from Cortec again. 6-story apartment, 52 units. You're about 18 months to 24 months of construction from when ground is broken until occupancy.
Thank you. I think that was the only question I took note of. So unless you heard another one, thank you very much for answering that. Yes, at the back, if you would like to come forward, please.
Hello, my name is Leanna Vaniprin.
I'm sorry.
Leanna Vaniprin. I live on Ellis Street, so on the other side of the creek.
Okay.
I am worried about the privacy on my property, and then also the privacy for all the people that are around the area, Highway 20, everywhere. Yeah, I have kids playing in the backyard. I don't need people watching them. The other concern that I have is the creek. This year, I have never seen it go so high. And how does that work? How does this building not get flooded one day? Like we've been having some crazy storms lately. It went high. So that's a concern as well. Parking, 0.5 is not enough room for 2 dwellings. On the street, there's not even enough parking for people that live there on Mill Street. What is the traffic pattern going to be like for all those residents living within that area? Another concern is the fire department. Are they going to have the necessary equipment to get up 6 stories? I don't know the answer to that question. The aesthetics will change in this town if it goes up that high. Do we not have land around us that we can not build so high? Those were my questions and concerns today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a number of questions that I've taken note of. Mr. Borma, who would you rather have go first, yourself or the team of whatever, the agents? Sorry, I forget the name. Quartet.
I can start, and then if
Sure.
Nick or Gord want to take over. So I'll just say that the Conservation Authority has provided their sign-off on the location of the building, and I provided no objection. Probably 2 or 3 years ago now already, the Conservation Authority actually walked the property with staff and determination where the floodplain is. So they were confident that this building is located outside the floodplain. and have no objections. The fire department and administration have also walked the property twice, and they are well aware of this proposal. They believe that they have the proper equipment to handle this type of building, and maybe Nick could discuss, we believe that this building is going to have fire protection, including sprinklers and other systems, so the building is also protected from that standpoint in case of fire. This would probably be the tallest building in Smithville. The institutional zone does permit 5 stories, or approximately 5 stories. It permits 15 meters, which you could accommodate 5 stories in. So it's 1 story greater than what the zoning permits currently. A lot of the areas around town in our secondary plans are going up to allow for 6 stories. We've had a couple applications before us that have gone even beyond 6 and gone to 8. Staff will have to review those comments that those members of the public submitted about the height. There is quite a bit of mature forests around this property, which would probably protect a lot of the height concerns there, but we'll have to look further into that as well. And the parking, they are providing what our bylaw requires, so that's not really something that we can require them to provide more of. And the thought is, since these are senior apartments, not everyone is going to have a vehicle. So that's why the parking ratio is so much less than if you had a single detached or a townhouse dwelling or a standard apartment. Having been to the Legion several times to do site visits, there's always been enough parking for township staff when we go to site. I mean, that's obviously a couple select moments in time, but we've not heard that from anyone through this process. So I think I'll leave it at that, and maybe I'll pass it over to Cortec.
If I might, I think I may have confused things. You said 1 parking space for 2 units, and then the individual, Leanne, came forward and said 0.5 for 2. It's 0.5 per unit, so that we just clarify that. It's not, or 1 for every 2. So just thought we'd make that clarification because I think I helped. Sorry. Go ahead. The microphone's working. Promise me.
Yeah, I can see the light here. So.
Good. Look for the light. You don't have to bang it.
So, addressing the concern in terms of privacy, if you see the proposed development, the proposed building is oriented in such a way that we don't have windows facing the north and the south of the property.
Can we just stop you? Can we
Yeah,
put
sure.
that picture back up
Oh, yeah.
so that people will be able to see again what you were talking about?
Oh, yeah, sure.
No talking. It's embarrassing. And it looks like
Thank you.
secrets.
So if you see how the proposed development is oriented here, so the north and south side of the face doesn't really have openings on it. So it's mentioned here in the elevations too. So that way the privacy is ensured for our neighbors, for their rear yards over there, and even for the existing buildings within the site too. We have ensured enough setbacks. So it's approximately 49 meters from 161, the building in 161 Mill Street, and 25 meters from 171 Mill Street. So we already comply with the zoning requirements that's necessary in terms of setbacks. So that addresses the backyard concerns. And then we have the creek in terms of flooding. So Cortec Group has worked with the town and the region, and we have maintained a 30-meter setback. So in this case, it doesn't affect the proposed development, the flood. And in terms of access and parking, the access will be through Mill Street, and the parking provisions, it's one parking stall for 2 dwelling units, so it's 0.5 for 1 dwelling unit. So for 161 Mill Street, we need 15 parking stalls. For 171 Mill Street, it's 42 parking stalls. In total, it's 57 parking stalls, and we have provided 120 parking stalls plus 5 accessible parking stalls. So that's more than required parking stalls for the development. And in terms of fire access, we also have an emergency access from St. Catherine Street. So that addresses the fire access.
I guess Nick Yamish from Cortec. Just a couple other. The building will be constructed of masonry. It will have a sprinkler system, so firefighting is mitigated that way. And then in terms of the flooding, there will be our engineering team will work with town engineering staff. There are rules and regulations for maintaining water levels on site in storms. We will have storage chambers on the site which hold and control the flow of storm. Often in situations, flooding issues are actually reduced because there's proper engineering put to 100-year floodplains based on recent environmental data. So yeah, it will be engineered solutions between town staff and Cortec staff.
Sorry. I believe that those are all the questions that were asked by the last individual who came forward to the microphone. Are there anyone else? Come forward, please.
I'm Lisa McMaster. I live at 115. Okay. I'm Lisa McMaster. I live at 115 Mill Street. The thing that caught my ear was the comment about controlling the water flow from the creek during a flood. As stated, we had a lot of water this year. We even had it at our place, which we don't usually get right up in the yard. I know that we had to apply when we went to the Water Conservation Authority when we wanted to put an above-ground pool in, and we were told we couldn't because it would destroy the flow of the water. And if we were to put one in, we had to go in-ground, which we ended up doing. So I don't understand how they can say that they're going to make the change of the water flow, control the water flow, when we couldn't even put an above-ground pool in, for one. The other thing I'm very concerned about is the traffic on Mill Street. It's bad enough now. People come down South Street and use it as a shortcut for avoiding the light. They don't stop at the light. Even with the construction of the 3 townhouse units that are going up on Mill Street now, it's horrible. We've got dump trucks, we've got mud, we've got diggers, I know that the one wall collapsed, so we've had a lot of extra construction vehicles up the road. There's just no peace any time of day. And personally, I'm in the later years of my life also, and I agree with Al that it's just unfair that anybody in the area, as we age, we don't want to have to listen to this for 2 years and have to worry about the mess and all the noise that's going to go on. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether that's more of a comment, Ms. McMaster, and I presume that our staff will be answering those questions in their report when they report back to committee. So I've taken them down, they've taken them down. Okay, thank you. Yes, I see you. Leanne, come back forward, yes. And I apologize, your last name is Van Apron?
Correct. Leanna Van Apron again. As a resident on the other side of the creek, I am trying to understand where they got the information about the creek flooding, citing 3 years ago there was a walkthrough. I actually was there 3 years ago talking to them as they were walking through, and it was my understanding that they were walking there because of Carter Drive. So I don't know how you can use the same report if that is this report that we're citing 3 years ago. As for vehicles parking, there's no public transit in town. Are we expecting these seniors to walk to town and pick up groceries and walk home? I understand that there is parking, but it doesn't sound like 57 for 52 stories plus existing buildings is going to be enough parking. That's just, I guess, my own thought. And as for trees protecting the site, the 2-story building is just at the tree level on the other side of the creek. So 6 stories will not protect people on the other side. I just want to reiterate the creek was flooded more than I've ever seen, and more than 3 years ago when they were there. On top of that, the pollution from the dogs peeing in the backyard is not appreciated either from all these extra people. So these are just thoughts that have been running through my head in addition to everything else. So.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to allow you to come back up. I think we've brought people in, and we'll let them come up for the second time. I don't want questions to go unanswered. So come forward.
So Catherine Wyburn again. So I am going to express a concern that I agree with that I don't think there is sufficient parking, especially if we're starting to get into that much of a density. And we're really looking at trying to encourage people that to be able to be independent as long as possible. And if you start restricting parking spots like that, unless we're going to have like a bus system come in that's going to transport these people. The other concern I have is we have a town plan, and I'm going to keep harping this, is that our town plan was 5 stories. And I don't agree with us varying from our town plan. My next concern is, and this is a question, is the access from St. Catherine Street. How is that going to be? And I will give concern and vouch for the fact that Mill Street is a very narrow street, and this is a lot of extra traffic that needs to be considered. And how is that access going to be from St. Catherine Street, and what is that going to look like? How wide is that going to be? Is it going to be like a tiny little lane that people are going to use as a scapegoat? We see it all the time from the Legion as it is. And my third concern, or my last concern, is about we have a 5-story building with elderly, and this town hasn't done that before. What is going to be done for evacuation for these people if there is an emergency? Thank you.
I don't want to leave Ms. Van Apron without saying that any questions that cannot be addressed today because of the person not being here or who could properly answer it, or the need for additional information will be contained in the report, and Mr. Boerma will ensure that all questions received tonight will be addressed in a report that's coming back. But I believe the proponents are welcome to come back up and attempt to fully explain the concerns of Ms. Van Alpern and Ms. Wyburn.
Through you, Chair. Those are all valid questions that I come across in all different developments that we work on across Niagara. Just to answer them, some of them specifically, when it comes to the creek and floodplain, so the meetings that we were referring to were meetings that we had with town planning staff and the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. So they're the authority having jurisdiction in that area. And they provided a full recommendation to us about a 30-meter setback, not being able to develop within that 30 meters. That includes parking. So everything has to be outside of that buffer. And we've had constant conversation with the MPCA, and that's been maintained to this point. So Cortec is designed to that buffer. When it comes to parking, I think I just want to make it clear that with the new development, it's 114 units total between the two properties, and the proposed parking is 125 spaces, so it's over 1 space per unit, and that's also to account for staff and occasional contractor parking. When it comes to the emergency access from 171 Mill Street to St. Catherine Street, the intention at this point is to have that as emergency access only, so that means it would be barricaded, locked up with fire department having keyed access to it if needed. So it wouldn't be, at this point, my understanding is it wouldn't be secondary traffic for tenants, or secondary egress from the site for tenants, I should say. Just to the comments about seniors and their proximity to services and amenities and being able to travel. So Legionville has owned and operated 2 affordable seniors buildings for over 30 years now. And as far as I know, their seniors tenants haven't had any issue commuting to where they need to get to. So there wouldn't be any change with the new building. And in terms of safety, when it comes to tall buildings, so the comment was made about seniors being in a building of mid-rise height being 6 stories. So with Niagara Regional Housing, we own and operate multiple mid or high-rise buildings across Niagara, low-income seniors, and safety is first and foremost, and the buildings are designed to provide safety in event of fire and other conditions. And the staff that we have work with tenants to make sure that they understand emergency access plans and that sort of thing. So this wouldn't be any different from any other building that Niagara Regional Housing owns and operates or partners with private providers on.
Sorry, I'm trying not to make noise when I'm listening. You've been here before, and we've had the pleasure of having you explain your role with the villa.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could explain who your employer is and what your role is with the villa.
Yeah, through you, Chair. So I'm an employee of the Niagara Region. I work with the Housing Services Department, and I'm a project manager in new housing development, and I was retained by Legion Villa 5 years ago now, I think it would be, to help bring this development forward.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. I've got tick marks beside all of the questions that have been just asked. So is there anyone else wishing to ask or come forward and make comment or ask questions? Sir. Mr. Packham, sorry.
Just one quick question, Alan Packham again. Where are the current residents supposed to park during this construction? Mill Street, where there's no parking already, very, very limited, narrow street. Parking has come up many, many times. I've yet to hear anybody address where the current residents who are going to get displaced, their vehicles will be displaced, where are they to park, especially over inclement weather. Where are they to park up at the feed mill and walk home? I'd like to know where they're going to go. Thank you.
Nick Amich from Cortec again. So with the plan of 12 or 15 parking spaces and the ultimate goal of the project, currently I believe the development is in the neighborhood of 35, 40 parking spaces. So based on the site design, we're not the constructors, but it would stipulate during the construction that a portion of the site closer to 161 161 Mill Street on the site. It's kind of, there's no laser pointer, I guess, or there's my mouse here. So that mouse is, let's go with this guy here.
Your mouse is walking.
It's got a phantom. Oh, I'll point on the image. There's a neighborhood of about 40 parking spaces right next to 161 Mill. So there'd be phasing so that construction would do one of the entrances.
Nick, we're going to have to ask you to come back to the microphone. Sorry for those people out in Cyberland.
Yeah. We believe there's ample space on the site to accommodate the existing 30 to 40 parking spaces and separate that from construction access. So the goal and plan is to maintain all resident parking on the site.
One speaker at a time. Sorry, if we could give courtesy to the speaker.
So yeah, there's, in short, there's enough space on the site to provide parking for residents and maintain separate access for constructors and contractors.
Okay, so thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to come forward at this time? Yeah, yes, ma'am, you're a first-time speaker. We'll go through first-time speakers first. I'll come back to you, Mr. Packham.
My name is Bonnie McMillan, and 107 Anastasia Boulevard. And my concern is I have a mother that lives in this building, and we have to visit. We visit quite often. With all this parking going on, I quite often will walk there myself because there's never enough parking. And with all these other people going to be moving in with the new building, you cannot park on the street coming down there. If there's cars parked on both sides, you can barely get through. I've seen it where I think an ambulance can't even get down there. When there's stuff going on at the Legion, they have a party, they park down there. They park in the villa, people. So there's going to be not enough parking. And you keep saying there's going to be one spot for every two people. There are some people there's couples, and they both drive. So where are the visitors going to park? Because there's a lot of us visitors that go there. So that's my only question.
I think, Mr. Borma, if you'd like to address that one. It's an overall concern about parking we've heard repeatedly.
Yes, through the chair to members of the public who've raised that concern. I think we can't require more than what our bylaw requires, but I think what we'll do before the recommendation report comes forward, we'll discuss with the Legion and just see kind of what their current levels of parking are right now. And I think from a planning perspective, this development is bringing forward more affordable housing units, which is important to keep in mind as well, that if approved, there could be some construction nuisances for a time, but it will also provide valuable additional units over the long term. So I think keep that in perspective as well. But I think we'll work with Cortec and the Legion to see what their current utilization of parking is, and if they can maybe survey some of their current residents to see what their parking needs are, to determine if more parking spaces are warranted.
Thank you, Mr. Borma. I believe there was one other person up around here before we have Mr. Packham come back. Any other first-time speakers?
Through you, Madam Chair, I have a question to the planner. So what would trigger a traffic study in this type of development?
Through the chair, we haven't required one in this instance. I don't know if I can answer what exactly would trigger a traffic study, but we haven't asked one in this instance because it's the nature of the development being senior apartment residences off a smaller local road, that we didn't believe that one was warranted in this case. In other instances on more major subdivision developments where there's hundreds of units being constructed, the township typically does ask for a traffic study to look at what type of improvements may be required. But one was not required or requested in this instance.
Okay, thank you for that. And through you, Madam Chair, to the planner, as a citizen of the community and listening to the concerns of the residents, I would think we're doubling the capacity on this site, and residents have expressed concerns about traffic issues, I would want to go on the record is that I would encourage staff to revisit that request to see.
Mr. Witteveen, we will be directing that once council has brought it back to table, and all of the recommendations from tonight, including the traffic study, are likely to come out.
I'm just asking.
I understand, but
yeah.
I'm not asking for you to give direction to our staff. So we'll have to wait until the appropriateness of the time.
Okay.
Thank you.
And through you, Madam Chair, I just want to make comment, as I said, on public health and social services at Niagara Region, as a regional councillor on behalf of the residents of West Lincoln, we have been working hard with Niagara Regional Housing to expand capacity in communities for our seniors, and so I'm glad that Niagara Regional Housing is partnering with these individuals. So I just maybe need some clarity on how many units would be supported through Niagara Regional Housing, which would address an affordability factor. So that's my only question, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Hopefully before the end of tonight or in the report that comes back, those questions will be answered prior to this report coming forward to recommendation. And I believe, Mr. Borman, if I could clarify now, that this application has been looked at by regional staff and the region, so that you are working with their comments as well?
So through the chair, it has been circulated to the region, but as of April 1st, the region no longer has any planning authority, so
Yes.
they will not be providing any comments on planning matters, only as it pertains to stormwater, because we have a contract with the region to review stormwater and natural heritage. So on those two accounts, the region will provide comments. The stormwater at time of site plan and the natural heritage at this time. I don't believe there's any objection to the natural heritage, mainly because it's out of the floodplain. And it's not on a regional road, so there were no comments from them pertaining to that.
But we do allow for the region to make comment. We have a contract with them on planning, and you and your people do stand in the same shoes as looking at all of the official plans and the regulations that the region has in place now. So those comments will be addressed. Am I correct?
Correct. So we have assumed the responsibility of the Niagara official plan, as in addition to our own official plan. And together with regional staff, when it comes to stormwater and natural heritage, prior to presenting a recommendation report, we do our full policy and planning review on this application.
Thank you. Next questions. I believe, Mr. Packham, you're next. $7:30.
It's on, yep. A comment and then a question. I've been going to the villa for upwards of 40 years. I cannot visualize how you're going to take an entire parking lot of cars, Villa 2, and cram it into Villa 1's parking. My question is, let's say you do that. How are the people from Villa 2 supposed to get all the way across that parking lot in all sorts of weather through a construction zone, carrying, let's say, their groceries, their Christmas presents? They have toddlers or something with their grandchildren through a construction zone, and they got to walk 3-4 times as far. And it's pretty much safe to say, like most construction zones, they're going to work 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Is this what, once again, is this what we're going to subject the seniors of our community to? Thank you.
I think we've exhausted now the comments that were to come from public. Kevin, still no one online?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So at which, I apologize for that. I'm going to confine this to table, so members of committee, have you any oral or written submissions on the proposal for a zoning bylaw amendment? As you know, this may be the only public meeting with regard to this property and this application, so this would be the time for you to make comment, or the OLT may not consider comments made at any other council or committee meeting. Councillor Rayner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through to the director. How many of proposals have been gone through so far that accepted the 6 stories? Has there already been a precedent set? I believe there is, but I can't recall.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Rayner, there's been a number of proposals before the committee for 6 stories or greater, but only one so far has received draft plan approval, and that's P-Bud Developments north of, or in the northwest quadrant of Smithville. That's part of that's a 6-story apartment building as part of a broader 412-unit subdivision.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Garrett, is that the one where the discussions, once that all the HVAC systems and everything would be on top of that, making a 7-story? Is that where that discussion came from?
Through the chair to Councillor Rayner, there was another 6-story proposal where I think those items came up, located right downtown Smithville, just off Forest Ave, where the old Starlight restaurant used to be. We had a proposal for a 6-story there, 100 units. There was a public meeting, and the applicants withdrew that application before council ever had an opportunity to make a recommendation. That was a number of years ago.
Thank you. One further question, Madam Chair, through to Garrett. I believe in the presentation, which caught me kind of off guard, they said something to the effect the frontage is supposed to be 30 meters, but they want it taken down to 0. Is that, did I hear that correctly?
Through the chair to Councillor Rayner, that is correct. So 161 Mill Street is on the western side of, and has frontage on the cul-de-sac of Mill Street. 171 is farther east and has no frontage. It was constructed that way, that Legion Villa 2 was constructed in the, I believe in the 90s with no frontage. And that is why staff believed that there was a cap on that zoning of 32 units, no additional units. So through the recent working with the Legion, we ensured that they had a properly established easement that comes from Mill Street, so guarantees them access through 161 Mill Street. And in order to increase any further units, we required them to ensure that they have proper emergency access to Regional Road 20. And there is an existing right-of-way easement that goes directly north of 171 Mill Street to Regional Road 20. There are some improvements to that easement that are going to be required to make that an actual usable emergency access, for emergency access only, to ensure that even though this property doesn't have any legal frontage, that there are at least 2 ways to get into this property in the case of emergency to provide emergency services.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through to Garrett. So that was your explanation for the frontage from 30 to 0. Does that mean staff accept that the explanation justifies the fact that they can go from a fair amount of space to absolutely nothing, and you're comfortable with it?
Through the chair, it is an existing situation. 171 does not have any frontage at this moment, so that's a situation that is already existing. But through the implementation of an easement and that emergency access easement, that guarantees them access for as long as those easements are in place, which are essentially forever. So that did satisfy us at the time to ensure that even though there's no frontage, there's still proper access. And I think there are reasons why the Legion prefers to keep these 2 properties separate. I think they are probably the best to explain those reasonings. I believe it has more to do with the financing and operation of these facilities. But they're operated much the same, and I think the Legion can probably speak to the board of directors for both of those facilities and how they function together as one on 2 separate properties.
Madam Chair, so you're comfortable then with the easement in lieu of no frontage?
Correct, and that's based on an improvement to the previous situation where we didn't have properly established easements to get to 171 Mill Street.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Bradrick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to, I believe, is it Nick from the region? No.
No.
Sorry, I got you guys mixed up. I have a question for you. In regards to the current wait list, I'm not sure if you're the one that could answer that as somebody that works along with the Legion Villa. I know that when you and the team had come here before to do a presentation, my memory strikes me around a 10-year waiting list. Is it currently still that?
Good there, okay. Through you, Chair. That's correct. It depends on bedroom type, and also the stats that we used the last time we were here have gotten worse. So I think it'd probably be accurate to say, so they're proposing 1 and 2 bed units in the new in this new development, and yeah, they could be anywhere from 8 to 10 years.
That was my only question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradrick. Councillor Maychuk.
Through the chair, my question is, during the construction phase, and it's probably directed to you, and looking at the uniqueness, you've got residents living there, and we heard from some of the people here that that's concerning. Is there anything that can be done from a construction perspective to limit the noise and ensure safe entry and exit or egress of the residents or people visiting during the time of construction?
Through you, Chair. I'm actually going through this exact scenario on another project in Fort Erie that we're hoping to break ground on in 2 months. And same scenario. So existing nonprofit housing provider didn't sever land. They're developing a new high-rise building on the same parcel. And it's actually closer to the existing building than what we're showing here. And it's all planning with your contractor, your constructor when they're retained. And there are a lot of different measures you can take. You know, there's temporary screening measures, and construction, or the constructor's staff has to be able to provide access through the construction site, safe access for existing tenants, staff, contractors, anybody else, service providers, and working within set working hours. So Monday to Friday, 7 o'clock to 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. or 7 to 5. You know, those things get established, and it's constant communication with the existing tenants on site to let them know what to expect, providing scheduling updates to tenants to let them know when major activities are happening on site. It's a lot of communication going on. So this is all planning work that has been in the back of our minds since the minute we started developing this site plan concept. And it will get really fleshed out when the contractor is eventually retained.
Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through to our Director, Borma. Drainage. So, you know, we heard some comments around how bad drainage was this year in so many aspects of the municipality. And so in kind of being proactive or looking forward, should this move forward, can you guys review what kind of, I guess, equipment we have to mitigate an increasement in drainage, or not so much an increasement of drainage, but ensuring that the drainage itself is actually not is actually functioning and not actually creating more of an issue? I think, you know, there's, from my conversations with the Director of Public Works there, you know, in exploring different avenues of how we can mitigate this, and making sure staff has the right equipment. You know, not even just for this particular project, you know, all projects in general. But I think one of the concerns I also have is, as the development takes place, there's going to be a location or two required to store materials and trucks and stuff like that, which is now going to have an impact in how all that water flows until all the engineering is done to do that. And I want to make sure that should a situation come up, that we have the ability to drain it and not actually have to figure out after the fact. We don't want to be in a reaction. We want to be in a proactive manner. So that's just putting that out there. You don't necessarily have to comment on that. The other question, I guess, or comment I have is, and this we can hopefully get answered in the report at another time, is I know we have one ladder truck, so through you, Madam Chair, just the staff, hopefully the report will have an opportunity to highlight comments from the fire department if they are requiring a second ladder truck or other types of resources to ensure, as we heard tonight, there's many applications that have gone forward. Whether they get approved or not, it's a different matter. Whether it's a 3-story, 4-story, or whatever, I think we're at the point now as we grow, we have to make sure we have all the right tools for if something should happen. So those are pretty much my comments there. And I did want to mention, Alan, you have a voice for radio, so I don't know if you're on the radio there, but the 3 times you came up, I thought us listening to a DJ.
I don't need the microphone.
No, you carry. So anyways, that's all my comments.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Councillor Trombetta.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the residents captured a lot of the comments. I don't need to reiterate the comments that the residents are making on this, and I think, with the comments that are made by, the residents tonight, staff will take that back and review it, and obviously the owner's agent will also be hearing those comments. I'm not a real fan of going outside our official plan. I'm in a 5-story, as another councillor said, once you get the air conditionings and everything up above that, we're about 7 stories, and that's not something I want to see, nor have I been opposed to that in this municipality for quite a while. I don't want to I'd rather build out than up. I like to keep the look of Smithville. I've lived here for 46 years, and I want to keep it the same way as I look at it as I drive down. But we're at that crossroad I've found, Madam Chair. As being a rural councillor and, being out there a long time, just like many of my colleagues around the table have been, I knock on doors and I see residents, and they're at that point where they're aging, and they're on this 20-acre farm where they can't maintain the farm anymore, but they're getting to the point where excuse me, they don't want to move out of West Lincoln and they need a place to go, and they're calling me and saying, Jason, I have nowhere to go. I don't want to move out of West Lincoln. I love Smithville. I love coming into town playing bridge or pickleball now that it's gotten really popular, and it sits with me because a lot of my residents out in that area are, again, getting to the point and they're being forced out of West Lincoln, and I don't want to get to that position either. I want to stay in West Lincoln and live here. I went to school here and I've grown up here, and my whole family's been here for many years, and I want to stay in here. So we got to come to an area as a community to kind of I want to keep my residents here. I don't want to see them go to Hamilton and come back. I want them to stay here, and that's what I really want to see. So hopefully we can come to an agreement and come to a consensus as a community with all people, and find an area that we can live with and we can have in our area together. So that's all I want to say, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Trombetta. Has anyone got additional questions, concerns that they want to bring up? Elsewise, I have a couple, and I just wanted to ask about the setback from the creek. I believe that whoever can answer this is if there's a setback of 30 meters, that's from an established top of bank. So that means they figured out where the top of the river is, not the floodplain, but then you have to compensate or mitigate your building to make it further back or flood-proofed or something. Is that what's happening with this building? Is the floodplain being reserved and then the building 30 meters back? Mr. Borman, if you'd like to attack any of these, you go right ahead. Otherwise, we'll get the other team back up.
Yeah, I can maybe allow Nick and his team to talk about the specific numbers, but what I can say is when we circulated this application to the Conservation Authority, they have no objections to the zoning amendment. So they have looked at it from a floodplain perspective and have noted that the development is outside of the floodplain. And as Nick had mentioned, there's a parking lot, and then there's the actual building. So that building's not right on the floodplain line either. It is set back a ways. But Nick probably has the specifics on the numbers.
Yes, so there, it's hard to tell in the graphics, but basically there is a water's edge and then there's a water course. That would be what you consider the floodplain. And then we are 30 meters, which is mandated. So we are 30, our building is 30 meters, about 100 feet from the edge of the edge of the floodplain. So we are honoring that, yeah.
So my next question is, that creek is kind of like the lazy Mississippi. It has, is there some sort of a driver that will cause the creek to be dredged and cleared to eliminate some of the, so that it will clear after a flood more quickly? I know that causes problems down creek, but is storm mitigation going to one day say this has to be, something has to be remedied? Or what is the driver that will cause that?
I don't believe, so the Conservation Authority, I think it was mentioned, is the regulatory body over the floodplain in Niagara. We have not had those discussions with the Conservation Authority. I'm not sure, I know in the past, residents have requested to like remove trees out of the creek, and that was not permitted by the Conservation Authority. So whether or not that's a standard environmental practice or not, but we can reach out to the Conservation Authority and get an answer to that question and provide it prior to our recommendation report.
I would like to hear that. I guess my next question is, what does this building deliver as far as persons per square foot or persons per occupancy per unit, which is being driven by the province? The new standards are what, 50? I'm not sure what it is anymore, 50, or is it gone up?
So the standard greenfield development requirement is 50 people and jobs per hectare, but this is considered an infill development within our built boundary, so there is no minimum or maximum requirements for density. And that's from our official plan as well. And also, yeah, there's no mandated density requirements for infill developments from the province.
That's what I thought, but taking this back to Greenfield, what does this building deliver? Because we are going to be looking at these kinds of developments required to accept them because the province has mandated it.
I don't have that number offhand, so what we can do is we'll provide that number in the recommendation report.
Sorry, yes, anything that you don't have the answer to is not a failure on the part of the team or yourself. It's merely that we should probably have that included in the full report. I guess the reality is that the Legion Villa is, while to some extent related to the Legion, is not really the Legion. And they're two separate and distinct entities. One is a not-for-profit organization, and the Legion on St. Catherine Street partnered with them in the original, I think, construction, but they are still two separate entities. And so we're not looking at parking relief during construction on the Legion parking lot. Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct. Those are two separate properties with two separate ownerships.
Okay, and I heard somebody say that we were going to have an answer. One of the team said that we would have an answer about how many parking spots are being utilized by the residents that are there now. So that'll tell us what that number of units utilizes and what we could expect if that was to go on it. Going from parking around the construction site, I must say that a number of the questions tonight were certainly jogging my mind, because walking across a construction site with my Christmas presents so I could take them home and get them wrapped was a vision I had not pictured. But groceries, etc., that construction zone will be right snap dab in the middle of the walk between the parking lot and 171. And weather and ice and many other things will possibly create a walk of twice or three times the amount of length for people who are trying to get home. And I would want to see a map or a way that construction is going to happen so that that isn't going to be a concern for people who live there. I understand we have to undergo a lot of things in construction, but that one might just cause more harm than good, although there is a balance here we're trying to strike. we've been told we need more units, and the villa decided that they were going to do it on their existing property to keep costs down, so they could have this wonderful facility, offer opportunity for more people. But we do have to find a way to get it there without injury to those that live there now. Okay, my last question, and I'm just making sure that I've asked the questions that were that came from the questions asked. You mentioned a number of developers have asked for 6 to 8 stories in the green field within Smithville. So as we see development coming forward, 5+ stories may be something this community is going to face in light of, as we say, greenfield development, demand from the province to meet certain population and density numbers. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct for not only what the province is trying to achieve with more houses, but it's also, I think, a factor of the construction industry and what's permitted under the code and what's feasible, like, for instance, like wood frame construction going up higher stories. The province is allowing that as well. And what we're hearing from the industry is that to make some of these developments feasible, they have to go to at least 6 stories. So I think it's going to become more of a common request as developments come forward for these apartment-style units.
Thank you. That's not relative to the exact item on the table, but I think that this horseshoe will be challenged by a number of applications. Okay. So that is all of my questions, and so that would bring to a close the comments that are coming from council at this point in time, which will be addressed by yourself or the team working for Legion Villa. Am I correct? They will all be taken into consideration. Sorry, I had my head down.
Yes, through the chair, we'll go back to Quartec and we'll request that they provide a response to the comments, and we'll include that all in the future recommendation report and provide a recommendation that takes those into consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Bruma. So to everyone here and in Cyberland, please be advised that an information report is being considered by committee this evening. Please be advised that once committee and/or council has made a decision with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment, and if approved by council, a notice of its passing will be circulated with an appeal period. If you wish to be notified of council's decisions, please ensure that you email the township clerk, Justin Paylove, at jpaylove@westlincoln.ca. Anyone interested in observing council or committee discussions about a particular bylaw should not solely rely on mailed notices and thus potentially miss the opportunity to attend applicable meetings. It is suggested that you watch the township's website for the posting of agendas to review items that will be discussed at council and/or committees. The agendas for meetings are posted on the township website after 4 p.m. on the Friday prior to the meeting. Additionally, meetings scheduled are also posted on the township's website for the public to view. If you wish to receive notices by email, it is suggested that you contact the township clerk to advise of your request and include your email address along with your mailing address and your phone number. This public meeting is adjourned at 7:56. Thank you. That concludes the public meeting portion of our meeting, and we will go back to the regular agenda that you may have received or looked at on the website. And my first question will be to members of committee. Is there a request for change in order of items on the agenda? Tonight there are no appointments, so we'll move past that, and there's no requests to address items on the agenda. So there is one consent agenda item. No, there isn't. Sorry. No, there isn't. I apologize. It was communications. I was getting ahead of myself. So there was no communications, consent agenda items. There is one communications item, and the communications item is a report with a recommendation that the correspondence received from Legion Villa on April 30th, 2025 be received for information. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Maychuk, Councillor Riley. Thank you. Comments? Be prepared for vote. It should be coming up on your screen right now or soon. Did it come through to everyone? That vote carries. Thank you, and we will move on to staff reports. Item GS 25-25. The recommendations are that recommendation report PD 1825-2025 titled Recommendation Report Proposed Street Naming for Station Meadows West Subdivision, a development by Peter Budd, file number 2000-89-19 dated May 12, 2025 be received, and that council approves Skipton Street, Chester Road, Evans Place, Meredith Street, Kennedy Street, and Petersfield Drive as the names for the Station Meadows West subdivision development, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the bylaw as found in the attached report. I need a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Trombetta. Councillor Bradwick. Comments? Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to our director. So here we are. We got an application, or so much a recommendation, and we were able to go to the naming list there and take half the names. I guess I just wanted to seek a little extra clarity. You know, sometimes we have these come forward and we don't get to pull a name from it because there's just not enough roads or they're in unique situations. Is staff obligated just to come back with 50%? And do conversations happen with the developer to see if we could pull more names from the list?
Through the chair to Councillor Riley, we do, anytime a subdivision development or condominium development comes along where they need to do a street naming, we provide them with the policy and the street naming list. And on many occasions, they come back with names not on that list, and we encourage them to select names from that list, but there's nothing that we can require of them to present those names from the list to council. So we still present names to council, even if they're not on the list, for council to make the decision on those street names. We are, if you recall, last month we had a recommendation to move forward with updating our street naming by our policy and street naming list. And we're hope to present an information report with what we have drafted in June or July to provide feedback before we provide a recommendation to this group. So we hope that the changes that we're going to propose are going to address exactly what you're talking about, providing more incentives and more stricter language around selecting names from the list, or if they go outside the list, what kind of guidance there is to the names that are being selected. It was mentioned names that have Indigenous significance, or there's other names that have Indigenous significance that may not be on that, that have significance that may not be on that list. So staff, we're going to present options for what names, what guidelines should be around names that aren't included on the list. So we hope to bring that forward in the next month or two.
Okay, thank you. My follow-up question, and I think you answered it there a little bit. So there's a couple of names on the list that is still being recommended is what they submitted, and I think it was, I can just bring this up here. Where is it? Petersfield Drive. And so I understand the developer's name's Peter, and this is kind of maybe something he's giving to himself, or he knows another Peter or whatever. But it's a road, and it's in an area where there's not going to be a whole lot of green space and not too long. And I'm just trying to understand the appropriateness of some of the names. Does that really align? And so again, I personally would like to see some others reviewed, and I just wanted to understand. I think I got my answer, but maybe I'm just more of expressing a little bit of disappointment that we're not taking more names from the list. So that's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Other comments? I think I do remember that Petersfield does not have any homes on it, so nothing will have that address in their name.
Currently, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Currently.
no, I don't think it can, because it's...
It's the access in.
Right. Anyway, we take your point, and I think the director will be looking at it, and I'm glad to hear that you want to bring it back forward sooner. We had thought maybe September, but you keep going for July. I think I'm off that day. So, the vote should be coming up. There it is. That vote carries. Okay, item GS 26-25, the information report PD 1920-2025 titled Zoning Bylaw Amendment 44426 Regional Road 20. That's file number 1601-014-24 for 1806018 Ontario, Inc., Lindy Truck and Trailer, dated May 12th, be received. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Rayner and Councillor Bradrick. Thank you. Questions or concerns? And seeing none, we'll call the vote. Item GS 27-25. Oh, sorry, that vote carried. I'm getting ahead of myself. There's no hockey game on it. That the recommendation report Building 06-2025 titled Site Alteration Permit 1664 Abington Road dated May 12, 2025 be received, and that the application for site alteration to import 220 loads, that's 2,200 cubic meters of topsoil, be approved, subject to a site alteration agreement which requires additional security, regulates the number of trucks per day, imposes truck traffic control, regulates dust and road fouling, and provides a timeline to complete the work, and that council pass a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign and enter into a site alteration agreement with the owners as found in Schedule E. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Trombetta, Councillor Rayner. Comments, questions? Councillor Rayner, I see you first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This was brought forward by the residents last month with regards to all the concerns they had, and they went through in a lot of detail about the number of trucks, the dust, the congestion, and everything else. And I appreciate staff coming back. It looks like the CBO really has got this covered pretty well to make sure that if there is anything going to come in that area, that it is under the direction of the township and can be enforced through the township. So I think it's achieved what they were looking for. If they were frustrated, they felt it was open-ended, they could do whatever they wanted when they were trucking dirt in, and they were the ones that were suffering for it. Their pools, their house, everything was just a mess. And I'm very confident that this is some type of control that the township can implement now to help reduce that aggravation and frustration that they brought forward last month. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rayner. Councillor Trombetta.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know the staff has been working, I guess, diligently with Mr. Castellan on this file and with the residents. So I think the staff did come up with some stuff that, and with the discussion with Mrs. Castellan and how it's going to be I guess, executed, I guess is what I'm looking at. So, you know, it's good to see that, it's looked like it's gonna come and everybody in that area is gonna come to, I guess, like I said at the previous meeting, all come to peace with each other and get it done. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Riley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll make it brief. I think I'm impressed the staff came back. We got one back so quickly, and I certainly appreciate the residents themselves, the ones who brought the application forward, being in the gallery today, and it shows that they support what staff has brought here. You know, I mean, they had a chance to speak to this. Obviously, they had nothing to say. They clearly behind this, and I do believe that they're being good neighbors, and you know, we look forward to this. I guess blossoming in the right direction. I know there was concerns that things weren't handled well before, and maybe it was a misunderstanding. But again, appreciate you guys being so cooperative. It means a lot, and hopefully the relationships between the rest of the neighbors get better for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Anyone else? No? I just want to say that even though we're approving this tonight, this isn't done. There's still a few steps. All of the securities, et cetera, have to be put in place, and all of the neighbors will see all of that, so that I think this is as I said earlier, a balance on the last application. This is a balance where the proponents are going to agree to a number of things and work within the confines of what the planning staff are doing, and I think that should bring harmony back to the area, and I hope that eventually that house will be completed. So, having said that, put the vote forward, please. And that is approved. Okay. Now, item GS 28-25. That information report PD-20-2025 titled Zoning Bylaw Amendment for 171 Mill Street, file number 1601-003-25 for Legion Villa Senior Residence dated May 12, 2025 be received. Councillor Trombetta, Councillor Maychuk. Comments? Councillor Riley.
Yes, I just think it's worth noting, Madam Chair. I see a couple of the other residents still in the background here, and so this report here is really just us to receive it for information. The decision tonight is not to say yea or nay until staff brings a recommendation back later, because I know a lot of times I'll get calls after something like this, which usually passes, because if it doesn't, then we get in trouble by the province for not allowing it to take its due process. And so I don't want there to be any misunderstanding of what tonight's vote is. So that's all.
That is correct. It's being received for information, and it's going back to our staff to have a little more work done. Okay, so bringing the vote for, oh, there was no other comments? Caught that one. There's the vote in front of you. Great. That's the end of our staff reports. Moving on to other business. There's no other business for tonight, unless members of committee have some. Okay. New business. That's for items that require immediate attention, and I don't think we have any of those. So seeing no hands, I'm going to move on. There's no confidential matters, so it is 8:11, and I will call adjournment to this meeting.
All right, good evening. It is 8:22. I'm Councillor William Riley. I'll be the chair of this meeting. I have to make comments here, so notes to members of the public. Comments can be made for members of the public for a matter that is on the agenda by advising the chair during the request to address an item on the agenda section of the agenda. The public may submit written comments for matters that are on the agenda to jpaylove@westlincoln.ca before 4:30 on the day of the meeting for consideration by committee. Comments received after 4:30 on the day of the committee meeting will be considered at the following council meeting. Comments submitted are included in the record. This meeting will be live streamed as well as recorded and available on the Township website. I'll move forward here. So our land acknowledgement statement. The Township of West Lincoln, being part of the Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Wenowak, the Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis and Inuit from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Township of West Lincoln, as part of the regional municipality of Niagara, stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. At this point, I will look around the horseshoe to see if there's any changes of items, the order of items on the agenda. Not seeing any. At this point, I'll go to disclosure, pecuniary, and/or conflict of interest. Any conflicts, pecuniary? Not seeing any. Appointments, we have none. So now we have requests to address items on the agenda. I know one person already expressed an interest in this, so I do have to read this. That procedural bylaw, section 1013.5, general rules, permits an hour in total shall be allocated for this section of the agenda, and each individual person shall be allowed or provided 5 minutes to address their issue. Some exceptions can apply. A response may be provided, and the matter may be referred to staff. And so at this point, I'm going to go to the gallery, and if you have an item, please come on up. And yeah, the mic's yours. I'll just have you state your name for the record there, and you can then proceed with you'll kind of give me the item you're referring to, which I know you mentioned to me. I'm just going to bring it up here. I think the item you're looking for is item 9.2, which is item OC1525.
Yes, Subdivision Zero Automated Enforcement Program.
Yes.
It's Catherine Wyburn, and I live on Shuri Road. Okay, and so I'm just pulling from the page 4 of that report, the financial implication. It's underneath there. I have a concern that when I see that report that it says that based on the apportion, which we get 3.8% of the 2024 revenue, and you do the reverse figure back of actually how much was revenue, that is $498,000 that has been of revenue off of that. And when you take that and you calculate out, say the average ticket, right, you'd be looking at 41 to 50 tickets a day. That's a little crazy to me on how effective is this camera program going. And I'd really like to know is, in that report, do we get the report where it could be broken down and saying, okay, did these number of tickets go down as the program started? Like how, what is happening there? And then, of course, we need to know when were the cameras actually down, because that was my calculation at 365 days a year operating. So those numbers would actually be higher for number of tickets. And the whole idea of the camera is to be a safety, right? Are we actually being safe if we're having people speeding through those areas? And that's a heck of a lot of number for people that are still, so is it working, right? So I would like to, if we are going to go through, and I do support the taking that money we've already got that's coming here of the 56,000, well actually almost 57,000, and using it for a study program. But I mean, this is a quick and dirty on knowing how well do those cameras actually work, is just getting the report and getting the numbers and crunching them ourselves. So
Perfect, great question.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to our director to see if you could shed some light on what information is shared with us through the region regarding the specifics of, I guess, the analytics of that report. So I know you might not have it, but maybe you can just speak to it.
Through the chair, sorry, your name again? Catherine. Through the chair to Catherine, unfortunately, I don't have that information at hand, but
the Vision Zero program is a Niagara Region initiative. And I believe over the years, they have reported back to their Regional Public Works Committee as well as their Regional Council on the information that you're requesting. So if you would be, if you would be patient with me, I could probably, through the clerk's office, probably share those reports with you so you have a chance to review the data that might be presented in those regional reports. All that I'm privy to at this time is just the revenue that we're getting, and then we have an agreement with the region where we should be reinvesting that revenue into other road safety initiatives within our municipality. So unfortunately, I can't answer your question now, but I could share information with you that the region has presented so that you could have a look at all that material.
I'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. All right, and not seeing anybody else that wants to speak here. Kevin, I'll go to you to see if there's anybody in cyberspace.
Not seeing any, Mr. Chair.
Nobody in cyberspace wants to speak up tonight. That is fine. So we're going to move forward. There are no consent agenda items, so now we're on to communications. There's no communications, so now we're on to staff reports. So the first staff report, item OC 14-25, and it's a recommendation that Information Report 015-2025 titled, I'm going to bring this up here, 2024 CLI-ECA Annual Performance Reports dated May 12th, 2025 be received. I need a mover and a seconder. I got Councillor Chaychuk and Councillor Maychuk. I know. That's all right. Got it right the first time. And any questions or comments? Not seeing any. I'll go to the clerk. And that should be before you now. So how do you vote? How would you like to vote? Oh, okay. I didn't see that. And that carries. Oh, I will note as well, I realize, kind of got ahead of things here, that the mayor does send her regrets. She's unable to join us this evening. So that brings us, to the next item, OC 15-2025. All right, recommendation report 013-2025 titled Vision Zero Automated Enforcement Program Revenue, Road Safety Action Plan dated May 12, 2025 be received. And that council approve the proposal to utilize the township share totaling $56,954 of the Automated Enforcement Program revenue to develop and issue a request for proposal to retain a qualified consultant to create a comprehensive road safety action plan. And 3, that the budget amendment BA 2025-05 reflecting a project budget of $56,954 with funding from the Vision Zero program revenues be approved. If I can get a mover and second, I got Councillor Maychuk, Councillor Broderick. Any questions or comments? I'll go to Councillor Rayner, then Councillor Trombetta.
Thank you. Through to the Director of Public Works. I think the question was already asked by Catherine. Can we find out what the actual total number is? I know she did the math, but it could be anything. They know exactly what the number is. And how did they allocate this number? Because of that number of million, whatever it is, there are 12 municipalities in the region of Niagara, so it doesn't look like we got a big share of this. Or is it based on how many fines that they've processed that came from this township? I mean, there's different ways of figuring out how you're getting what you're getting. You may only get a percentage back of what your township has, or you may get a percentage back of what all the region of Niagara has. What's the formula that dictates this particular number?
So yeah, Director, if you can maybe highlight that. I will note just, I don't know if Councilor Rayner, if you recall, but last term when they sought our endorsement, we were actually originally told we weren't going to see $1. So this is not something I believe was originally part of the design, but I'll let the Director speak to that.
Through the chair to Councilor Rayner, unfortunately, I don't know how they determined the proportionate share right now. I don't have that with me. I believe there would have been a memo that was circulated through the area treasurers on how they determined that proportionate share. So I could share that information with you, but unfortunately, I don't have that readily available. So if you wanted clarity before this report gets approved, I guess we could provide that additional information.
Mr. Chair, what I'd
Floor
be
still
interested
yours.
in seeing is the 12 municipalities and how much each one got, just out of curiosity. I mean, the region's got to file a report because they're all doing it. So why not just give a report to us and say, 12 municipalities, this is the number each one got?
I guess we
It
could
would be-
kind of
it would
go
be
watch each
interesting.
council meeting and see what their
What's that?
proposed, we could go watch each of the council meetings and see what their reports say.
Well, yeah, but the report should
I
come from
know,
the
I'm
region. I mean, it would be simple just to get a one-page printout of what everybody got, and then the formula to justify of what they did receive is reallocated back to that township.
I think the director had another response.
Yeah, through the chair, as I said, there is a memo that outlines what each municipality got for revenue. I didn't share it as part of this report. If you want me to share that revenue at the council meeting, I could probably present that as
Yeah.
supplementary information in a
Okay.
memo.
Is that what you
That
like?
way, the rest of council can at
Is
least
that
see
okay
what
with
everyone
consensus
is
of council?
getting in
Go
revenue.
with consensus here? Everybody's nodding. Yeah, I think that would be great if you could just bring that as extra information. But yes, so Councillor, the floor's still yours.
Okay, thank you. There's only one other thing. When this was started, people were saying, oh, this is just a cash cow. Cash cow from the region, this is what they're after, they want money, this is not so much about safety and enforcement, this is about an easy way to get a buck. It looks like it's working in that direction, that they're making a lot of money on this. So, there's two ways to look at it. Yes, it's safety, are people gonna drive better? Yes, but obviously these numbers dictate that it doesn't matter, they're gonna pay anyways and do whatever they want. So the point is this really just extra money that they could get because they found a method of getting it? If these numbers continue the way they're going, the message is not getting through. If people are getting caught and they're getting a bill in the mail for $200 or $300, whatever it is, to me, the logic would seem that as this program progresses, the amount of revenue coming in should decline if
Agreed.
the program
Agreed.
works. But we need to see those numbers to see if it's working, and if not, then basically this is a cash cow.
Yeah, no, and I get what you're saying, and that's where I think as the resident actually asked, having an understanding of that analysis of, maybe most of this money was at the beginning and it's getting thinner, we don't know. And so hopefully that information, and you're right, and over time it should get less and less, and if people are actually complying with the rules of the road. But anyways.
So, Mr. Chair, the report that our director's gonna come back should not only be what I requested earlier, but also should be it based on a time basis. When this program first started, the first couple months, and now 6 months later, this is the numbers coming in, so that we can relate to what I just mentioned and see, is the program working, or is it really just people don't care and it's just a lot of money coming in, because that may be what it ends up being the purpose.
So hopefully when our at council here, when we have our mayor back and, or Councilor Whittabine, they'll also be able to, they'll also, pardon? Okay, but I'm gonna finish my thought first. So hopefully, I think at council, when we have the mayor back and regional councilor Whittabine, hopefully is in the audience, that we can also have him speak to that, because they probably were given some of that information as well, but it would be great to have it entirely ourselves to understand. But Director, go right ahead.
Through the chair, and to add to his comments, in addition to the supplementary memo that shows revenue that each municipality got, as I mentioned to the presenter or the resident who spoke about this item earlier, I could also list all the regional reports that went to regional council so that you could at least review those, which would probably have given some kind of chronological order of the success and the strengths and the weaknesses of this program and what's projected in the future. So I'll aim to provide a supplementary memo showing the revenue each municipality got, as well as reports that went to Regional Public Works Committee on the region's Vision Zero program.
Perfect, appreciate that. I'm gonna go to Councilor Trombetta now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the Director, DePaula. These cameras, did they mention if they're staying, if they're going? What's the consensus on that? Now that they've looked like they're giving us some revenue, is that it for the project, or is it continuing?
Through the chair to Councilor Trombetta, again, this is a Niagara Region initiative, so they're planning on continuing on with these.
So your take is probably permanent.
They're continuing on with the program, yes.
Okay.
Red light program as well as automated speed enforcement program.
And I just wish, through you, Mr. Chair, not to just outside the director, it's more of the regional thing. You know, the complaint that we get, at least I've been getting quite a bit, is that the camera that's on Smithville Road faces west, way past all the school zones. It captures the vehicles coming east on Smithville Road, but it's not doing its, they sold it to us that it's for a school zone, but it's not catching the schools. You're coming from, I guess, heading west, let's say from Highway 20, you're going to all these schools, you're coming in from town to all these schools, but the camera is not catching you at any of those school zones. It just doesn't make sense. The majority of people coming to those schools are coming from in town and from Highway 20, where the more populated areas are.
Well, they're coming, so for you're talking about Town Line Road, that particular one, they're taking it where you're going from the 80 to the 50. I don't know, I can't speak for them, but I would assume that the idea is that when you have to turn at Canberra on Town Line, there's a science behind that. The speed, the speed itself probably hasn't hit.
If you're coming from where you're,
you'd want it more.
You're coming from Highway 20 down past Sherry Road where you are. You're coming towards the school. There's no speed infraction there.
No.
The camera faces west. It does not make sense to me. The idea how they put the camera and they sold it for a school zone where it's not in a school zone. If anything, it's in a church zone, and it does not make sense to me. I just wanted that comment for the record because, to be honest with you, they're giving us some money, but how much more would it have captured if it was through the school zone?
So you're pro capturing more people?
No, I'm just saying it just doesn't make sense. When they come selling you that it's for the school zones, they never put it to a school zone. I don't understand when they implemented that to us. It just, the positioning of and again, I'm just,
this is just what they presented us last year,
and then they decided, they didn't give us a location.
Yeah, that came
And they
later.
put it up, and number one, it's been taken down multiple times, but they put it up in a location, and I want more information from a regional councillor. Why was it in that location, outside the school zones? That's all.
So I don't think staff could really speak to that at this point, but if maybe we can bring that back up when the extra information comes at council, because we will have our mayor and regional councillor. So, did you have any other?
I think I might have looked at the council.
So hold on, I'll come to you a second in a minute. I got Councillor Chichek, and then I'll go to Councillor Maychuk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When the report comes back from the director, I would hope that it's not only just what everybody got, but the total that was collected at the region, so that we know that how much everybody got, but then how much was the total from them all, and then distributed, and how much did the region keep? Because that's my question, is what is the region doing with the money? If this is all about safety, and I agree with Councillor Trompetta's observation, both the cameras kind of don't capture the school zones, but if it's to promote safety, how's it being spent? And is it being directed back into road safety? Because my goodness, with the QEW having problems right now, I can tell you that Friday night and Sunday, Regional 65 was bumper to bumper. And it was hard, and I was driving a tractor, so I'm not the best person out there, but it was hard to get around with a slow-moving vehicle on the whole weekend, and they're coming from the QEW. So if we're going to need something else, the people along 65 have long since been saying that's a racetrack. So I want to know that the money, how much it is going to be used for road safety and what the region intends to do with it. And then that's what I wanted to know was if we are going to endorse spending $56,000 on, which is our portion of the money from the region, I want to know if that report goes out and if it's more than 56 or if it's less than 56. I don't believe in issuing an RFP with somebody knowing how much we're getting, but that's only my opinion. The thing is, if it comes back, where are we going to get the money to deal with the report? We're going to spend the money to find out what would add further safety. We're going to have to look at it as a budget line, and that's going to, I hope, I know you want to address it, Mr. Director, but hold your thought, because I just have a couple more questions. Because what if are we required to keep the cameras, because red light cameras do their thing. But what if there's a better way as it comes forward? Are we compelled, can we say no to the region? Or are we now in the program forever? You know, I don't know whether it's, I don't know what that other thing is, but if you're gonna do a study and you're going to want us to find some way to fund that study, but we're already into this red light camera and that money's going to the region, how are we going to attract more money from those poor people in the cars to fund our additional safety measures within the township?
Yeah.
And my final one is, when the cameras first went in, we know that they don't have enough cameras to put in every one of those camera things. So, and Councillor Whitting did come and tell us that they would be there from May to September in one and another period of time in the other one. Are they still rotating them around? Because I understand there's more poles than there are cameras. And will we find out when they are going to be in Smithville? Sorry for all those things, but I would have
No worries.
forgotten.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Chichuk, let me start with the rotation question. My understanding is the cameras do get rotated at different locations. And I think what the region, again, the regional staff are probably best to answer this, but I'll do my best to speak on their behalf.
You can be the conduit to get us the answers from.
My understanding is before they actually implement the cameras, they do put up signs ahead of time on when they'll be active. I can't remember if it's a 30-day or 60-day notice, but they do put up a sign warning motorists that a camera will be coming soon. The other question that you had there, I hope that answers that one question.
Well, I would like you to get it from staff that we haven't got those dates now.
Yeah.
So I don't want to wait for the sign to come up to say that
So
it's
you
there.
asking to put a motion forward, because you can't direct staff to do that without a
I
motion?
would like to put a motion at the appropriate
Okay.
time that we get the information about when cameras will be located in Smithville from the region through our staff.
Yeah. It might be a good idea to bring regional staff here to speak to that matter whenever you
I
think the
think that
time
would be
is.
more appropriate, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman,
I agree.
instead of bringing the regional counselor
Yeah.
to give us this this news.
Yep.
And I said, what if we think of a better way? That was one of my questions. What do we think of a better way to use money? Or this study you would like to do is going to need funding. Are we tied to the red light cameras or the traffic cameras?
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
through the chair, let me provide some clarity on what our operations, public works administration staff are thinking with respect to that. So the agreement with the municipalities and the region is any revenue that is generated from the automated speed enforcement and red light cameras, and whatever revenues get shared with the municipality, the municipalities have an agreement or they're obligated to reinvest that money into road safety initiatives. So the road safety initiatives have to kind of align with the region's Vision Zero. So that's why we're bringing this report forward, because our philosophy is most municipalities have like a road safety, road corridor department, road safety department that administer like traffic calming initiatives in a municipality. It's one of the recommendations from our transportation master plan, but we just don't have that department to do that. So what we wanted to do with this revenue is develop a road safety action plan. And the purpose of that action plan is basically to get a consultant on board, and we're developing terms of reference. We want to get a consultant on board and look at putting together a long-term plan on how to address road safety. And the plan will be like an action plan that could be phased in over a number of years, and we will have a good blueprint on what road safety initiatives we want to undertake and how much those will cost. And as we get revenue in from the region's Vision Zero program, then we could kind of slowly implement the recommendations or the initiatives that this road safety action plan are going to lay out. The report, the scope of work that we want to accomplish with this RFP, and it may be done in one season, it might be 2 seasons. We're going to structure the RFP accordingly to see how much work we can get done with the 56,000. It could be stressed over a 2-year period. But the RFP is basically going to be structured in a way where we want a consultant to kind of collect data, assess our network, the local network, and review current traffic safety data, accident history, traffic patterns in the urban area as well as the rural area, and do that background data collection, right? What's the current speeds, where are the current issues, and we'll engage the community so that we hear from the community where there are some road safety concerns. Again, it could be urban, it could be in the rural area, and then the next step of the work plan for this RFP or this assignment would be to develop a road safety initiative and an action plan. So one of the things we're thinking is some examples of the action plan could be, in year 1, year 2 of our action plan, perhaps there's an opportunity to reduce speeds in subdivisions in the urban area. A lot of municipalities are reducing speeds down to 40 kilometers an hour. The Highway Traffic Act allows you to do that, but we want to implement it in a logical way. Like maybe after we gather feedback from the community, maybe we use a subdivision as a pilot, collect data before. We would we use this money to invest in a road safety campaign to change drivers' behavior, implement a 40-kilometer pilot project for a number of months, maybe even a year, to see if there is some success, collect data, and then if it is successful, we'll roll that out through the entire urban area. That could be like the early part of our action plan, year 1, year 2. And then later on, year 2, year 3, we could look at what initiatives we could do in the urban area to reduce, not to reduce speeds, but to make our rural roads safer. It could be through pavement markings, improved illumination at intersections, things like that, improved signage, things like that. And then later on in this action plan, year 5 to 10, we want a clear action plan of, are we going to implement traffic calming devices? And if we are, where would we recommend them so that we know what we're going to be implementing throughout the years, and as money comes in from the revenue stream, we'll implement. So that's kind of the idea behind this. We're just going to take the revenue from this year's program, or last year's program, 2024, and use that money to retain a consultant to implement a road safety action plan, something that we can achieve, and we'll implement these initiatives as we receive revenue, so that there's no increase to the tax base. Because a lot of times when you implement a traffic calming policy, you're getting questions and policies, and you're making decisions based on what the community wants to see, and there's no concrete plan to really implement. So this is kind of like a master plan, but an action plan on, after we do this study, this is what makes sense. And the other thing we're going to include in the RFP, I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling on here. Probably should have did a presentation for this.
Well, I realize some of the stuff you're speculating too. Like, you're trying to explain an idea of whatever we get back, how that would be implemented, and I think we understand that.
But we're going to be working with the community, working with our consultant, but that's kind of the high-level scope of work in the RFP. And one of the things we would like to do is, once we do retain a consultant, we'll have like a kickoff meeting and show and explain to council what the work plan is, so we get your buy-in, and go out to the community, and then we'll have a final presentation once the report is finalized for council to adopt. Sorry, I rambled on there, but I hope that answered your question.
Great. I'll go back to the councillor.
Thank you for that presentation. And I guess at the appropriate time, aside from the motion that I started, I would like to get the balance of all of the money that the region is getting, because what are they doing and what they are doing with it? Because if we're going to do a plan, I'm hearing subdivisions and I'm hearing urban area. I'm not hearing rural area, but that needs more police. So we would want to know what they're doing with it, because if we are going to have this plan and we don't get more police, and the rural area, I can tell you right now where the problems are out there. It's where the cars go real fast.
Yeah.
And so we have to have a comprehensive plan that marries with the region. And so if we don't have a say on the way the region's doing things with their planning, if they're doing the money, and we're doing a plan, I don't know where we're going to get the money, but if this could take 2 years' worth of our money, we're not looking at, I wouldn't want public to think that we are going to wait 2 years to implement anything down the road to put public safety at a better place.
Oh, absolutely.
So I guess what I'm looking is for a comprehensive story that includes the answers to what is the region doing with the money that they're getting, how much are they keeping, and do we have a say in what they're going to do if we think of a better way, ergo our master plan, and a listing, a time of when, a notice of when the cameras are going to be in, so we can see if there's a difference.
Yeah,
You know?
I feel like, to your questions, they're all great questions. I feel like, again, this is I think really important that maybe we ask, and maybe it's cleaner.
I agree.
We ask them to come prepared for
To
any and
answer
every
them.
question possible, and have them presented than us kind of having to play telephone wire with information, which is
I'm
just
not going to
confusing us.
deny that, but I think that if the clerk were to put this in a motion, we would then have the regional staff come prepared so that they can support their side of this thing.
Yes.
But I think, I commend our staff for bringing this forward. I'm just worried that it could be out of step, or we could be out of money, or it's going to take too long, or we're going to be told, oh, well, that isn't going to work by the region. So I don't want to go down a rabbit hole and then find out we're in the wrong place.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah. Not sure how it'd be out of step necessarily, since we're doing it more of a local approach, but I get the concern. Councillor Maychuk?
I'll be super quick through the chair. Mike answered my questions. I just want to make sure that the study would lead to an action plan and road safety measures that could be implemented. So I appreciate your long explanation. You answered my question in advance. Thank you.
Councillor, okay, we're good. I guess I'll just make a quick comment here before we go. Oh, you got another question? All right. You're going to be brief? Because you've asked about 8 or 9 questions already. All right, go for it.
It was just in relation to Councillor Trombetta's thing about the school. If you look at the Carnes School, there's the camera there. So it does catch people going in, but it doesn't catch them going, it catches them going east, but it doesn't catch them going west, unless it also catches them when they're leaving, and you're supposed to be accelerating to the 80-kilometer zone. So I don't know if they're falsely catching people that have gone past the school, heading west, and are accelerating, as compared to the ones that are coming east, going in towards the school, that are decelerating. So is it a double there? But to do it accurately, there should have been camera on both ends of the school, catching people going towards the school. So it's really only 50%, but yes, they are getting the school. He said they weren't getting any school. In this particular one with Carnes, they are getting half the direction, but they're not getting the complete package. And no, I don't want to see another camera.
Yeah, so, and I think that's a great question that we can hopefully ask that presenter at the time. But I will also mention, there was some things that were kind of told to us, from my recollection, that the region didn't deliver on, and I think our councillor Wadavina had highlighted after the fact some information that just didn't work out. We were told there was going to be like a 30-day forgiveness period. It was more of a warning, never happened. The 5 and under wasn't necessarily going to be. There's going to be warnings with that, never happened. So there's some things that clearly it wasn't a perfect system and how they originally presented it to council before. So I think these questions would be really good to have directed at the presenter, and in a positive way, but a way that gets us the answers we need. And I think what your staff has before us is a really good use of the resource that's being presented to us. It's not anything that's coming off the tax base, and it's something that we can now use, something I've long advocated for as far as traffic calming initiatives and matters, and I think this really could really be beneficial on a local level. So I'll go to our clerk, who has Councillor Chichuk's motion, and he'll read it out and see if the councillor agrees with that.
Through the chair, I have a motion prepared that would be moved by Councillor Chichak. I did include the beginning portion as well, Councillor, so please let me know if this is acceptable to be moved through you. That administration be directed to return with a memorandum at the next council meeting in regards to how revenue disbursement was conducted from the Niagara Region Vision Zero Automated Enforcement Program, and that administration be directed to invite regional staff to present to council updates regarding the Niagara Region Vision Zero Automated Enforcement Program.
I see a nod, so we have a yes there. If I can get a seconder, I got Councillor Rayner as a seconder.
Do we need to, we were wanting to make sure that we knew the rotation of the cameras into those little boxes. I presume that all of this would come with them, but
It is on their website for what it's worth. I think September it comes back to West Lincoln, Councillor would have been said. Tentative, so.
Okay, well, they'll come prepared with that too.
So I'll put that,
Sorry, go ahead.
so I can put that on the floor to vote.
Yes, we have a mover,
This is the
Councillor
amendment.
Chichak, and Councillor Rayner's a seconder. So this is going to be before you, it's just the amendment, and then this will come back around as a whole later. Okay, so that, the amendment carries, so then now we're gonna have item.
Just takes me a second.
And as the clerk brings it up there, I get where you're, I know when they were presenting to us a few years ago, there's a lot of things that I think we kind of had a different vision in a matter of speaking of what that was going to look like. And even the location itself, I think they focus primarily on those who are coming in from a higher speed and not slowing down in time in both areas. And I think, hopefully we can get some information about how that can, if it's going to remain, how it can capture the whole picture. But for all we know, and it was a pilot project, but now this pilot project's feeling like a permanent one. All right.
So through the chair to the rest of council, the motion on the floor is the original motion, which is accepting the report that council approved the proposal to utilize the township share totaling $56,954 of the automated enforcement program revenue to develop and issue a request for proposal to retain a qualified consultant to create a comprehensive road safety action plan, and that the budget amendment be a 2025-05 reflecting a project budget of $56,954 with funding from the Vision Zero program revenues be approved, and that administration be directed to return with a memorandum at the next council meeting in regards to how revenue disbursement was conducted from the Niagara Region Vision Zero Automated Enforcement Program, and that the administration be directed to invite regional staff to present to council updates regarding the Niagara Region Vision Zero Automated Enforcement Program.
Perfect. So
that vote will be open.
All right, so now I'll call the vote. And Councillor Rayner supports. And that passes unanimously. All right, moving on to the next item. All right, so item OC 16-25, that information report 014-2025 titled Ownership Change of Kimbo Road dated May 12th, 2025 be received. If I can get a mover and seconder, Councillor Braderick, Councillor Maychuk. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. Go to the vote. And that carries. All right. Next item OC 1725. That recommendation report, let me just bring this up again, screen. All right. The recommendation report 009-2025 titled Small Container Water Fill Station dated May 12, 2025 be received. And that administration proceed with option, and it's currently blank. You have the options before you in the report. So before we worry about the options, we need a mover and seconder to bring this to the table. Councillor Rayner, Councillor Chichak. And at this point, the floor is open. So Councillor Rayner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to put option 1 on the table, if I could, leaving the water service as is with no changes. This is a very small amount of money, $3,500 a year. There are people that are utilizing it. It was, as I said, it was initiated when I had a farm on Young Street because of the PCB contamination and the fact that it went in the bedrock, and they weren't sure how far it was going to spread. But it's a small amount of people, I guess, that are still in the area that have not put cisterns in, that still may have a well or saying, I just don't want to take a chance. So they go to it, and it's such a small amount. I mean, we approved a very large increase in our budget to hire people, staff of $329,000, and we didn't blink an eye on that. Or I should say, not all of us did, but it was approved. And now we've got, and very little people are probably going to see the benefit of that personally. But there are people that will receive the benefit, and there really isn't that much money involved in it. And I think it would just be a nice gesture to have it available for those who wish to use it.
Okay, so you got that. All right, Councillor Broderick?
Thank you.
Sorry, hold on. Did you have your hand up? No, sorry. All right, I thought I had Councillor Chichuk first, but go ahead, Councillor Broderick.
Thank you, Chair. Just a comment, I agree with Councillor Rayner that option 1 should be the one that we decide upon tonight. As a country resident, we're not people who live out of the urban area of Smithville. We're not afforded the opportunity to necessarily turn on our tap at any given time and have water that has been tested and consumable by the human person. So to be able to have that option available to people who maybe can't afford to go out and buy bottled water for their own consumption is certainly something that I think that we should support.
Okay. Councillor Chichuk?
Yes, I would be in support of option 1 as well, Mr. Chair, and that's for exactly the reasons. There is still PCBs out there, and how it goes in the groundwater, they've got containment carriers, but people do have to go there, and at 11 o'clock at night, when I don't have a key to go to the big water tower, but I need some water for baby formula, or I need something, not me. But I think it's only fair that there would be an emergency opportunity, and the cost of monitoring this is going to be more expensive than the actual money that's going out there. So anybody who's going to use a lot is not going to get it there. They're going to go and get a key, and they're going to go to the big filling station like farmers do, etc. So I think this is a great idea to keep an eye on it, but right now I think anybody who's in dire need of something at a crucial time needs to be able to get some water. It's potable, it's a right, it's not a privilege, and you pay for it if you need a lot. So I'd support option 1.
Okay. Any other questions or comments before we go to that item? I'll mention briefly, and I probably should have went to the director to speak a little bit to this, for those at home or those in the gallery who aren't sure about the item that we have before us, but we have a water fill station at one of our public works yard that members of the public are able to go to and fill up for free. There's no cost to members of the public to do so. I think part of the concerns or things that we've heard before is there are not a whole lot of people know about this. And I think there's a transparency issue there because of that. I think if this is something the council wishes to do, then we need to do a better job labeling it. We need to make sure people are well aware that this is not just isolated to those who are privileged to know about the location, and that it's publicly referenced as your free water fill station. So anybody in the municipality has a right to have access to it, and not just those who are aware of it. Because I've also heard from other residents who have heard from people who used to live here, who no longer live here, who come back to fill up and take their water to their area. So again, this is something that should not just be restricted to those who were given that information when it was many years ago, and then still who are aware of it now. It should be open entirely municipally wide, and so my only request would be that should option 1 be the choice to the matter here, that there is signage actually put in place to help steer people who may not know about it, and that there actually be information on the website to help educate people and make more awareness to it, because it's the least we owe the community for the sake of transparency. So that being the case, Councillor Rayner is putting the motion forward for option 1. Can I get a seconder? I got Councillor Broderick as a seconder. So I will go to the clerk as far as and then I'm going to ask that before we vote on that there be an amendment.
So through the chair to Councilor Rayner, if Rayner will take that, Councilor Rayner will take that as a friendly amendment to the motion to provide more signage and notice on the township website, I could do that. However, if Councilor Rayner doesn't take it as a friendly amendment, it would have to be a separate
Separate
amendment.
resolution.
I don't think there's any harm in doing that.
Okay. Yeah.
Everybody can use it.
Yes, absolutely.
And it doesn't mean just those people.
You might want to have your mic on, Councillor.
Everybody can use it, but initially it was installed there for the people who were in the zone that the ministry felt that there could be PCBs coming into their wells.
And there's probably other residents who are in some of those rural areas as well that don't even know about it.
And as I said, I had ministry come down my farm laneway because I was directly north of that facility within sight of my second floor window. And they came down and said, we would recommend that you use, you test your water on a, I think it was monthly basis, and we had to submit it, and they would come back. But in the meantime, we went and got all our, for cooking and for drinking, we had to go with jugs and get the water. So that's what started this whole thing, and it's just continued, and nobody's really said anything until now.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of a gratis, free, whoever would like to use it. And really, water is the essence of life, and countries drill for water because they don't have water. We have an abundance of water. We're surrounded by 2 Great Lakes, and it really doesn't cost that much, and it's something that everybody should have the right to have when they need it.
Great.
Thanks.
So through the chair to the rest of council, with Councilor Riley's friendly amendment being accepted, that administration pursue option 1 and that notice be posted physically on site as well as the township website. I'll just need, I believe you asked for a seconder, but I forgot.
I think Councillor Braddock was the seconder.
And if that is acceptable to the rest of council, I'll put that amendment on the floor.
No other questions or comments? All right, let's put it on the floor. Or put it in the vote, I mean. Excellent, and that carries unanimously. All right.
I have to do the first main motion, I'm sorry.
Oh, right, that's
Sorry.
the amendment. My apologies. Promised Councilor Rayner I'd try to get us out of here at 9, and it's 9 after 9, so. I'm trying. We started at 8:22. I'm trying to keep it under the hour for you.
Through the chair to the rest of council, that administration proceed with option 1 and that notice be posted physically on site as well as the township website will be the motion in front of you, and that is the total motion with the amendment included.
And that carries as well. Excellent. Getting business done. So now that brings us to one of our last staff reports, item OC18-25, and it's that information report 0-07-2025 titled Pavement and Bridge Management System Status Report dated May 12, 2025 be received. If I can get a mover and a seconder, Councillor Trombetta, Councillor Rayner.
Can I ask a question? Why?
Go for it. Councillor
Yeah,
Trombetta.
Mr. Chair, how come we've moved presentations to the end of meetings? Usually they're at the beginning of meetings. Was that your recommendation?
No, I think it's just the way how it came out. Because we used to do a lot of stuff through consent agenda, and now that we're trying to give a chance to get it more transparent, it just kind of falls where it falls, I guess. Okay. Are you going to want to wait till the vote? You can't hold 2 seconds. It's going to take 2 seconds. We've got to receive this information. No, Hank. Oh, go ahead. We got a presentation.
I think I know the order of the agenda.
All right. No, I thought you're, okay, go ahead, our director.
Okay. Okay, through the chair to the rest of the committee, I wanted to put together a few slides here and do a quick presentation just to kind of summarize the information that's in the report in front of you regarding our pavement management and bridge management system status report.
So I'm going to talk about three topics. The first topic, I just want to give committee and council an overview of our pavement and bridge management systems, just so you guys are well aware of that we have them and how we use them. And then the next two areas I'm going to cover is basically summarizes the information and reports. I'm going to talk about our pavements. I'm going to talk about the current network of our pavements. And how we use our pavement management system to determine sustainable funding to keep our pavements in optimum condition. And then I'm going to talk about bridges and major culverts, same idea, what the current condition is, what our rehab and replacement needs are for our major culverts and bridges, and how we use our condition assessments and our bridge management system to determine sustainable funding to maintain our bridges in optimum condition. So I'm going to start off with an overview of the pavement network. This is an illustration showing our road network. For this presentation, I'm only going to talk about our hardtop pavements, our low-class bituminous pavements, which is our surface-treated pavements, or tar and chip pavements, and our high-class bituminous pavements, which is basically our roads that are made out of asphalt. And this image is showing, in the past, what the township used to do is do our pavement inspections once every 5 years, and then develop a roads need study that may sound familiar. But in 2022, we changed the way we do our roads need study and doing our pavement inspections once every 5 years. So what we decided to do was do an inspection of 1/3 of our network every year, so that we have good data, good information. We're able to have good information at hand to really determine what our pavement condition will be like in the future. And the 2/3 of the network that does not get inspected that year, we're able to predict what the condition of it is. So every 3 years, we basically inspect every single road within the township. And then we put that information into our pavement management system, and then we could collect a lot of data and run a lot of different queries to see, to address any questions that we may have. So that's why I put this image up there. Just we kind of changed the way we do our pavement inspections. Instead of once every 5 years, we do them annually. So our pavements are basically a whole bunch of different IDs. Every pavement segment has an element ID. We have 387 road segments in varying distance. Comprising around 276 centerline kilometers of roadways. So that's our hardtop pavements. In addition to that, the township also has 98 gravel road segments, which is an additional 111 centerline kilometers of roadway of gravel roads. This is our pavement management system. Every time we do a pavement inspection, we have a consultant that does it every year. The example I have in front of you here is Dufferin Street in the urban center of Smithville. And basically what the consultant does is it follows the MTO inspection guidelines on how to inspect pavements. You have different types of surface defects, and they inspect the pavements and they rate the severity of that surface defect. So they just go, they drive the pavement, and they score the pavement accordingly. So I have an image here that shows basically a visual that explains what coarse aggregate loss and raveling looks like. It's when you start losing the fines on an asphalt pavement, and that's kind of the first sign of your pavement is going to start to deteriorate a bit. This is an example from Dufferin Street. So here's an example of what's called longitudinal wheel track alligator cracking. So it's exactly what it sounds like. It looks like alligator cracks, alligator skin, and it's located in the wheel track of the traveled laneway. There's an example of centerline alligator cracking, and then pavement edge alligator cracking. A lot of these surface defects are pretty common if you don't, resurface a pavement or do some pavement deterioration, pavement preservation. So at the end of the day, after you do the inspection and they look at the different types of surface defects and the severity, the pavement management system is able to tell us what the pavement condition index is for that section of road. And for this example, it's a 45. Later on in the presentation, you'll learn that a pavement that has a PCI 45 should be scheduled for reconstruction. And Dufferin Street is a very good example because we have a water main that needs to be replaced underneath the roadway, and we have a sanitary sewer that's in terrible condition underneath the roadway. So 5, 6, 7 years ago, we probably could have resurfaced this road, but our pavement management system is a tool for us to say, okay, it's time to resurface the road, but then we look at the underground infrastructure, and in this case, the underground infrastructure needs to be replaced, so we let this road deteriorate to a point where it could be reconstructed. Because you don't want to resurface a road and then dig it up to replace the water main and the sanitary sewer. So that's an example of how we use our pavement management system. Now I'm going to give you an overview of our bridge network and our bridge management system. Here's an image showing all of our structures in West Lincoln. We have 91 structures with a replacement value of around $96 million. 72 of those structures are bridges, 92 of them are major culverts. We're legislated to inspect every bridge and major culvert that has a span more than 3 meters, so an opening of 3 meters. And we have to do those inspections biannually, so that's once every 2 years. And I have a little note on this slide. A bridge is basically defined as anything that has an opening more than 3 meters, but has less than 0.6 meters or 2 feet of cover over the structure. I point that out because the number of 72 bridges may seem like that's a lot of bridges, but there are culverts, look like a concrete box culvert. It looks like a culvert, it smells like a culvert, but it feels like a culvert. But when you take this definition, if there's not 2 feet of cover over top of that structure, it gets classified as a bridge. So I just wanted to share that with you. So even though it sounds like we might have a lot of bridges, a lot of them could be concrete box culverts, but because there's not enough 2 feet of cover over the structure, it's classified as a bridge. And here's a zoomed in image of where all of our structures and major culverts are located in the township. So just like pavements, all of our structures have an ID. So in this case, we call them structure IDs. So I'm just showing you how we label them. So I talked about how we're obligated to inspect our bridges once every 2 years biannually. So the process for that is a professional engineer, a bridge engineer, would go out and look at all the different elements of a bridge. Every bridge is different, but in this example, we have a reinforced concrete deck on reinforced concrete girders that sit on a pier column. So when the engineer goes out there to assess the bridges, they'll look at the bridge soffit, the girders, the bearings, the pier cap, the pier column. They'll also look at the surface of the bridge, which is the wearing surface, the approach slabs, the expansion joints, a parapet wall, the barrier wall, and the barrier railing, and basically determine the condition of the bridge. So here's an example, and then once they review the condition of the bridge, they develop a bridge inspection report, which is part of our bridge management system. It's basically a 4-page report. The first section of the report lays out all the different attributes of the bridge, what the bridge name is, what the classification of it is, whether it's a bridge or a pedestrian bridge or a culvert, the location, the year it was constructed, the last time it was rehabilitated or replaced or rehabbed, if there's any load postings on it, all the different attributes that are associated with the bridge. The second area of the bridge inspection report talks about the effects of deterioration. So after they inspect all the different elements, they'll make a little statement on what they're seeing. and then there'll be a recommendation. This inspection report is actually Kimbo Bridge, which is located on South Grimsby Road 16, just north of 20 Road. And I use this as an example because we recently rehabilitated this bridge last year. So I'm just showing you how the recommendation told us that we should be rehabilitating the structure, which involved replacing, doing some patch waterproofing and paving of the bridge deck and replacing the steel railings with a concrete barrier wall. So and it also provides you an estimated cost. On the second page of the report, it lays out the breakdown of that estimated cost. And we take these reports to populate our capital budget and 10-year forecast. And the last 2 pages of the bridge inspection report just basically have general images of what the bridge condition looks like. So that's an overview of our pavement management system and our bridge management system, and how we do our inspections on our pavements and how we do our inspections on our bridges. So now, this information is in your report. Basically, the current condition of our pavement network. The first graph is showing the PCI, or pavement condition index ranges. So anything that scores a 0 to 50 is considered a poor pavement, 51 to 60 a fair pavement, 61, 75 good, and then very good. Those are our categories. The next bar graph is showing the distribution of the different ranges. As you can see, the green bar graph was the inspections that we did in 2020, and we predicted the condition of the other 2/3 of the network. And then in 2023, we did another inspection of the network, predicted the other 2. And in 2024, we inspected the third area and predicted the other 2. And the whole point of this bar graph is showing the more you do your pavement inspections annually, the better information you're getting. And at the end of the day, after our 2024 inspections, 43% of our network is considered to be in very good condition. And the average pavement condition index based on pavement area for the entire network is 72. And here's a map that that basically shows all of our roads in different type of condition. And I'm showing the years that those pavements or that area were inspected. 2022 in the north, 2023 in the southeast, and 2024 in the southwest of the municipality. What you see in front of you is a pavement deterioration curve. So you have your pavement condition on the vertical axis and time or years along the x-axis. What this is showing is as a pavement deteriorates over time, which is the black line, it talks about kind of the rules to maintain your pavement. So whenever a roadway has a condition less than 50, they are typically programmed for a major rehab or a reconstruction. And that goes for both tar and chip roads as well as asphalt pavements. So that's what that red line is showing. You let it deteriorate to a point where you reconstruct it. For your tar and chip roadways that are generally in fair condition, which is a PCI, pavement condition index between 50 and 60, they're the ones that are kind of programmed for resurfacing. And any tar and chip roads that have a good condition, like over 60, we typically program those for preventative maintenance, like spot repairs, asphalt patch repairs, maybe some asphalt edging, because the edge of the roadway will start to deteriorate first. And for your high-class bituminous pavements, which are your asphalt pavements, roadways that have a good condition around the pavement condition index of 60, those are the ones that are kind of programmed for resurfacing. Okay, so 60, you should be resurfacing a road. Anything less than 50, you let them deteriorate and you reconstruct them.
So what our pavement management system is able to do for us is run different scenarios. So based on an unlimited budget, kind of what I explained on the previous slide, this is showing basically our backlog, right? So any pavement that has a PCI less than 50, let's say 45, if you had the money, you would reconstruct those roads. And anything that has a pavement condition of 60, if you have the money, you would resurface those roads. So based on our 2024 pavement management system update, we have a backlog of $13 million for 2025. So that's around $7 million of reconstruction and $5 million of resurfacing. So your 10-year total, and then if you do that in 2025, then you're now, your needs in 2026 would be 5 million, 2027, 6 million, and so on down the chart. And an important thing to know is even if you do resurface every road that has to be resurfaced or reconstruct every road that has to be reconstructed, you're never going to get a pavement condition index of 100. And that's what the last column is showing there. You're always going to have pavements deteriorating. So that's what our pavement management system is able to tell us. What is our current backlog? The other thing our pavement management system is able to do is run funding scenarios based on different funding allocations. So what this chart is showing you is for our average 2024 PCI is 72, which is that thick black line. And that's where you want to be with a road network of our size for our township. 72 is kind of where you want to be. So how much money do we have to spend to maintain that existing condition? So if you spend $750,000 a year, you'll see the blue line over time. In 10 years, 2033, you're going to have a pavement condition index of around 45. That means if you invest $750 every year for the next 10 years, every single road in your network would have to be reconstructed, right? So our pavement management system is able to look at different funding scenarios, and for our system, if we spend $2 million, we will maintain our current pavement index of 72, or in around 70, which is where we want to be. And this is just an illustration showing of that $2 million every year, how much of it should go towards major rehab or reconstruction, which is shown in blue, and how much of it is resurfacing to maintain that PCI of 72, which is that red line at the top of the graph. And what this is showing is in the early part of our 10-year forecast, we get the best return on an investment with resurfacing. And then later on in the forecast, we should be shifting towards reconstruction. So we do this analysis every year and just see what the trends are. And then this is just showing if you spend $2 million a year in 2025, we should theoretically be spending X amount on rehab or reconstruction and X amount on resurfacing, and it'll lay out what your PCI will be every year. So this graph is just showing if you spend $2 million a year, that's how you maintain your current PCI index. So the optimum resurfacing reconstruction budget is around $2 million per year, and that funding should be split between reconstruction and resurfacing. Now, our bridge network, our current condition, based on the last biannual inspections, which was done in 2023, we'll be doing them again in this year, 2025. We have 46% of our structures that are in very good condition. That basically means they don't require any work in the next 10 years. 11% of our structures are considered to be in good condition, which means they only require maintenance work, which our operations staff are able to accomplish for us or try to accomplish for us. And then 21% of our bridges are in fair condition, which basically means requiring a minor rehab and some repair work within the next 10 years. And 18% are in poor condition, which is a major rehab or a replacement within the next 10 years. That's kind of how we define that. We don't really
give bridge condition index to our bridges. It's more about now needs and what, because every bridge is different. It's very different than pavements. So that's what our bridge management system tells us after we do our inspections. What are our now needs? What are our 1 to 5 year needs? What are our 6 to 10 year needs? And this kind of lays out and what bridges are adequate. And based on our 2023 inspection, our total needs, just like I talked about with our pavements, our backlog is $16.3 million over the next 10 years, which equates to $1.63 million per year. The township's 2025 capital budget forecast has an $800,000 per year allocation to address our bridges. So just like the pavements, if you have an unlimited budget, you should be spending $1.6 million on your bridges. But we just want to keep our bridges in safe, good condition. So $800,000 is the sweet spot. Just like pavements, you have a backlog of $13 million, but we only need to invest $2 million per year to keep our pavements in optimum condition. And this is a map of all of our bridges based on needs. The reds are nows, the yellows are 1 to 5 year, the blues are 6 to 10, and the greens are adequate. So basically all of our now and 1 to 5 year bridges that are mapped here are basically worked into our 10-year forecast. So again, that's what we do with our inspections, our pavement management system, and it helps feed our 2025 budget and 10-year forecast. So in summary, sustainable funding. The township is responsible for 387 lane kilometers of roadway, of pavements, and 91 structures based on the 2024 pavement management system update. As I mentioned, the funding needs on an annual basis to sustain our current pavement condition is around $2 million per year. And based on our recent 2023 bridge and major culvert inspections, funding on an annual basis to address our total needs, the backlog of our bridges, is $1.6 million per year. Our approved 2025 budget and 10-year forecast provides $2 million per year to sustain our pavements and $800,000 per year to keep our structures in optimum condition. So that kind of summarizes what the report that's in front of you this evening, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Excellent, thank you for that. And yeah, that's a very meaty, a bit of a media presentation there in terms of those who maybe don't realize all that goes into bridges and roads and what it takes to sustain it. So anyways, I'll look around the horseshoe, see if there's any. I got Councillor Chichuk and then Councillor Bradrick.
This is great. The thing that's missing is if I go to look at this before we do our budget, I'll forget those other pages, which I think are the whole story. Like, I won't, I can see things, but when you went through all the slides, it'd be great if we could have the entire package. The other components get you to the point of how the maintenance management system or the bridge road management system comes up to the final number.
Yeah, through the chair, Councillor Chichuk and the rest of the committee, I've always wanted to bring this report and information earlier and at budget time as well. But I noted that we used to only do our inspections once every 5 years, and we changed that process and we started doing our inspections starting in 2022. So we did it in 2022, 2023, 2024, and I felt comfortable after doing those 3 years of inspections to have good information to kind of present it now. But in the future, I do think it's a really good idea to present this information as part of the budget package.
Mr. Chair, it would be great if we could have the rest of those slides inside this, so that we don't forget the story. That's what I'm looking at is.
Agreed.
Yeah, if we could.
Yep. Councillor?
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the Director, I think I know the answer to it, but just wanted to confirm that this is an internal staff project. We own the software that creates the the reports, or is that an external consulting that provides us
Yeah.
the information?
Through the chair to Councillor Bradwick, we rely on two different consultants to do the field work, the inspections. So we rely on a firm to do the pavement inspections, and they have a pavement management system that they manage for us. But that pavement management system provides us the information we need through reports. So we own the information, we own the reports, but a consultant does the inspections for us and manages the pavement management system for us. Likewise with the structures, we hire a structural consultant to do all the inspections for us. And it's their bridge management system, but they give it to us at the end of the day so that we can use that bridge management system. So it's a combination of consultants doing the work, providing us the databases, and then we manage the databases ourselves, and we use that information to develop the capital forecast.
Okay, thank you. I guess that's a question for future discussions or at budget time around consultant fees versus internal, and looking at some, possible cost savings down the road. I guess that's something to bring up at a future time. Thank you.
Great question. Councillor Maychuk?
Through the chair, excellent presentation, Mike. Thanks for all that background information. So I think you answered this question, but just want reassurance that the current level satisfies the needs in terms of what we need to do to keep our roads safe. And if they do score below that 50 mark, you mentioned a few in the 40s, do they normally get resurfaced or repaired within a year, or what's the time length that that's addressed to ensure that those roads are of better quality when deemed in a poor condition?
Yeah. So through the chair to Councillor Maychuk, it depends on the road, right? It depends on the road. Typically, when a road hits a PCI 50, we would schedule it for a reconstruction, because resurfacing doesn't give you the best value for your buck or the best return of investment. And it also depends on where the road is. If it's in the urban area, then we would look at the underground services and try to align the road work with the underground infrastructure improvements. So we look at each road segment and try to develop that program. If it's in the rural area, there's no underground infrastructure, so it's a little bit easier to make those decisions on rural roads if we should be resurfacing or reconstructing them, because we don't have to worry about underground infrastructure. So it's a great question. There's no one standard answer. Every road tells a different story. Yeah.
You good, Councillor? Anybody else? Oh, Councillor Trombetta?
Yes, again, I just want to echo what some of the members of council said. It's kind of hard when we need to kind of see this for budget time, how much money we should allocate for our roads, but I wish we can, I know timing's always an issue, but a year from now, we're going to be into, I guess a little bit less than a year, we'll be into budget, and, seeing these numbers or something come with the budget, I think would be ideal for us to kind of make hard decisions on what money needs to be allocated for certain infrastructure needs. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, well, great comment, and even just trying to find the revenue stream for it, right? Like, it's a whole nother matter, so. You good? All right, I'm good. So thank you very much for your presentation and all that information. I will go to the clerk, and we got it before you. Again, this is to be received for information. We got a nod from Councillor Rayner. Most nods in a night. You got a question?
I'd just like to know why my computer works for half and then the second half it doesn't, but it's consistently does it almost on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I think part of it has to do, mine does the same thing. It goes to, as soon as it goes to sleep, I have to sign out and sign back in.
Well, that's probably.
That's what mine does it every time.
Why did the other ones not do that?
Maybe she doesn't have her set where it goes to a complete sleep. Maybe it goes to a nap. I don't know. We can have IT look into that for you. I'll just go real quick. Any members of council or members of committee here have other business of informative nature? Not seeing any. I guess I'll just mention real briefly that I was able to take part, or not so much take part, but I was able to attend the mayor's luncheon. on the other day there, and it was really well received. A lot of great information for those who weren't able to make it, and I'm sure she'll speak more in depth to it at council. And that's I figured I'd just mention it real briefly right now, just because I don't know if there'll be much more I can say after she's had a chance to speak long before council that she won't already have covered that we're going to cover there. So, Councillor.
Through the chair, just two items I want to address. Last week in the Niagara News, it came to my attention and it touched my heart that a Smithville resident has reached the critical kidney donation stage.
Yeah, I read that too.
So I just want to make people aware that if they've ever thought of it, wow, that would be a tremendous gift to at least get checked to see if you could be a donor. And she's only 36 years old, mother, wife, and daughter, Jody Park. And on Facebook, they do have a page, a kidney for Jody. So if you are interested or know anyone, wow, you could save a life and make a huge difference. So please give it some consideration. I also had the pleasure of being at the flag raising for the Niagara Community Foundation with Justin and the mayor, and they do some tremendous work in the community, and they also support things like camps. So in the future, hopefully we can be a benefactor of some of their outstanding programs, and they're doing some great work, and it was nice to see their flag fly at our community center.
Absolutely. It's great to see that. All right, not seeing. Oh, no, you got one too? It looks like I opened the door.
I just want you to know that there were several people from the town, including a couple of politicians, that were out bowling last Thursday, and that we generated some funding for a very worthy cause for children's, the children's, pardon me, village in Niagara. So it was a good fun, and we won't tell you who won and who lost, but we had a great time, and we'll do it again next year.
Absolutely. All right, so that brings us to new business, assuming Councilor Rayner doesn't have any new business. You're going to surprise us with? No. All right. Confidential matters, there are none. There's no, I don't know why I have this one here, so that brings us to the adjournment time. So I'll adjourn this meeting at the hour of 9:43 p.m. Thank you very much.